What up? What up? What up, podcast party people? How you doing? I'm doing all right. I just shaved my pubic hairs, and I gotta say, I did a little manscaping down there, and holy shit, it's way better. Oh my god, it's so much fucking better. My pubes were so fucking long. Like, they never used to be this long. I don't know what's going on, but now they're really long. And I couldn't take it. I was going crazy. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Couldn't get my wife to go down there because it was a gigantic hairy jungle. So now it's all trimmed. I put it on the number 3 setting of the the little clippers that I got that I used, and I thought I was pretty good, and then I got down to the base on the underside of my cock, and this is the dangerous area. You men, you know this. If you manscape, you know that when you're doing it with clippers, that base into ball area is kind of the danger zone. You could get that. Just that little sharp, you got the sharp edges. It's like the 4 or 5 sharp edges on the trimming blade or whatever, the trimming block or whatever you call it. Motherfucker can get clipped right on your fucking ball sack, and it hurts like a motherfucker. And I was being really careful. I was being so fucking careful, and I still nicked myself. I still got the little base of the inside of my cock nick, and I didn't like it one bit. I was disappointed in myself. I was like, motherfucker, dude. I was trying to do this all good and proper. The last time I did a little manscaping down there, I actually got my ball sack. And when I say I nicked my ball sack, I am not even fucking around. This thing must have gone into my ball sack like 1/8 of an inch. It was a huge, gigantic ball sack rip. Hurt like a motherfucker. Oh my god. Anyway, I am happily trimmed up today. I thought I'd let you know that. And if you feel me on the ball sack nicking while trying to manscape for your woman, well, shout out to you. Shout out to you, motherfucker. That's right. Oh, it's been a hell of a week, man. I put out my last podcast. I think it was 2. I skipped a week. My last one was Roy Nelson, and then all hell broke loose with George Floyd and riots and protests, and I wrote a bunch of songs and wrote a bunch of lyrics, and I would just wake up in a fury and come down here and sing all these words of rage, and in the end, I ended up having 2 really fucking good songs come out of it that I'm going to drop any day now. Any fucking day now, I'm going to drop. And they're very much of this moment. They're very much of everything that's going on in America and the world. And I was pissed and angry. And we had the music for these songs for a little while. One of them was called Stop the Bleeding. It actually kind of in some way or another had been kicking around since the Blackening era. And then a totally new song that I wrote with the Do or Die Circle the Drain session with Carlos Cruz called Bulletproof. And yeah, man, I'm pretty excited about this new stuff. But I got creative and I got angry. I went to a bunch of protests. I went to a protest in Oakland, totally peaceful protest, about 6,000 people. Intense, angry protest, but peaceful. And then my family and my dad actually went to one on Saturday. And just between that and between all the other stuff, I was just in a fucking shitty place and didn't want to set up. I was not interested in reaching out to people and setting up interviews or blah, blah, blah. So I got back on my game, and during that pause, I actually reached out to my publicity girl to talk about these songs, and hey, I'm thinking about putting these songs out. What do you think? And that opened up a conversation to a couple of people that she wanted to bring onto the podcast. So it ended up being this great thing. So sometimes taking a break. I've been hitting the podcast pretty hard now for about 4 months straight. I haven't missed a week, so I've been, it's time for a little break, recharge, reset, and now I'm back. And I got to say, I'm really stoked with the guest that I got. I met this guy, 15, 20 years ago, and super nice guy, great dude. I love this dude. He's a fucking character and lunatic, and he's fucking weird and cool, and that's all the perfect makings of a rock star. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Altamont Beer Works. Altamont Beer Works is the finest craft brewery in the Bay Area. I love these guys. I love their beer. I love their vibe. I love everything about them. I met them. It's funny because the whole reason that I met the guys, Steve Sartori and the whole gang over at Altamont, is that I took my boat. I used to take my boat into Livermore to get repaired. I got a wakeboarding boat, and my family and I love to go wakeboarding on the lake. And I used to take it into this guy called. It doesn't matter, but I would take my boat in to get repaired, and he was telling me, and he was just like, "Oh, dude," he's like, "you got to try this brewery right next door. They've got the best fucking beer, and they're all metalheads, and they've got beer named after types of strains of weed. So they got Maui Wowie, and they've got they do all these kind of rapper named beers, and like I was just like, oh, that sounds funny. So I went over there, and they ended up being Machine Head fans, and there was actually a bunch of Machine Head fans just there hanging out, and I was like, oh shit, oh my god, like how's it going? And so we ended up kind of hitting it off, and they gave me a bunch of beer, and I've just kind of stayed in touch with them. They've actually made a couple of beers, Machine Head beers, in the past, and they have got what has got to be one of the fucking best beers I've ever had in my life. I've never been a stout guy up until just this year, really. Maybe last year, maybe this year, I don't know. But I just started drinking stouts, and they have a peanut butter. It's called Nutty Operator, and it's a peanut butter chocolate stout. It's got coffee, cinnamon notes in there. It's not sweet, and it's not even really peanutty, but I see, that little subtle flavor is on there, and it's a stout, and oh my God, it's so fucking good. It's not strong. It's like 5.8. It's nothing crushing, but they're based out of Livermore. They sell cans all throughout California. All kinds of stores everywhere now are taking them. They have tap. They've actually the Machine Head beer that they did for us was sold on taps all throughout 500 restaurants here in Northern and Southern California. They are a fine establishment. If you want to get some beer, they actually deliver all over California. So you can call it, go online, look at their beer, be like, oh shit, that looks good. Oh, I want me some of that. They do like fucking rapper beers and weed beers and all kinds of IPAs that are really good. And they're named after strains of weed. And yeah, check it out. Altamont Beer Works. I think it's probably just altamontbeerworks.com, but I could be wrong. They're on Instagram. They're everywhere. They got a good thing going, man. Check them out. Altamont Beer Works. Anyway, let's get going over here. I want to show you guys. So this is the playlist I made for Wednesday. So back in the day when I was on tour, I want to say it was the Supercharger tour, I got turned on to this band. This was his very first band was called Frankenstein Drag Queens from Planet 13. And they were on I Used to Fuck People Like You in Prison records. So I got handed a bunch of stuff from, I forget what record label, but some guy gave me a bunch of CDs, and I listened to a bunch of it. And I think in this pile was the one of the earlier, that first big Behemoth record and this record. And so I was like, these are the two records that I completely remember out of this. And this record it was like Too Fast for Love era Motley Crue meets the Misfits, and I thought it was fucking cool as shit. Like, their name was great. The fucking lyrics were hilarious. Like, they were just it was just crazy shit. And I loved it. And they all wore dresses and fucking dressed all androgynous, and I love that. I love when a band goes too far with that shit. So, this is the first song that I remember hearing by Wednesday 13. This is from his original band, Frankenstein Drag Queens from Planet 13, and this is The Devil Made Me Do It right here. It's got like cheesy 80s intros.
He believed the more vicious his attacks
So
were,
cool.
the more pleased Satan would be. He believed the more brutal he was, the more pleased Satan would be.
Yes. So Motley Crue. So Too Fast for Love. I love it. It's a fucking banger right there.
Mom and Dad, I'm not sorry for putting bullets in your body. One day I hope you'll understand that I did it for the man, yeah. Well, he gave me up to man. He said, kill your mom and dad. He said, your son will
Very punk rock, very fuck you. So,
do it and I'll do it again. The devil made me do it and I'll do it again. The devil made me do it.
this is the opening track of this record. The record is called Viva Las Violence. This is Viva Las Violence. Every song's got an intro, so I'll skip the intro.
Their doors and windows securely fastened early today.
There you go. Love this shit. We were listening to this every fucking day before the show. Every day. This was our warm-up CD. We had it on CD at this point. Put this shit. We were like, this shit is awesome. Fucking just getting ready to rage. Just put us in a good mood, a good violent mood. So then, Joey Jordison, he tells the story how Joey Jordison approached him. And so he then became a member of the Murderdolls. And this is one of the songs that I liked by them when they came out. This song's called I Love to Say Fuck. And who doesn't love to say fuck? Just so it's said. I can fully appreciate the premise of this song. I'd probably say fuck too much.
I got a fucking problem. Oh, I just love to say fuck. And I don't care who's around me. I could really give a fuck. And I don't care if you're my mother or my motherfucking father. I could really give a fuck now. That ain't my motherfucking problem. Oh yeah. I love to say fuck when I'm driving in my car. Fuck when I'm walking in the fucking park. Fuck you if you don't like what I say. I love to say fuck every fucking day. Oh yeah.
She's a hit.
I love to say fuck.
Shit is a hit.
I love to say fuck. I love to say fuck.
Banger right there. Right here, this song.
As a daylight died on the summertime suicide.
I love it. So Motley Crue. So Too Fast for Love. Fucking production on this one is rocking too. Check this out. This is a heavy one. Listen to this one. This is Wednesday 13 right here. This shit gets heavy. Dense. I love that fucking keyboard sound. That shit's so good. Heavy.
Creatures scream, blood to feed their appetite. Long sharp knives to cut you right down.
So this is from his solo record, which came after Murderdolls.
So the night can come alive. In the night there are bad things you cannot understand. In abomination, the devil commands.
So right here. Check this out. This is his #1 song on Spotify. Wednesday 13. This is Bad Things right here. Lyrics of this are fucking great. This is a rocker. I'm gonna turn this one up. Ooh. Gotta turn this one up.
A bullet in your head is how I want it. Your body on the floor, a Kodak moment. You're a waste of air and a waste of space. I won't shout, optics to fly into your face. I get you now more than I ever did. I wanna kill you, dig you up and do it again. I wanna come to run over your head.
I want a car to run over your head. Do it in reverse and do it again.
And I would be lying if I said that it wasn't true. I only want bad things to happen to you. I want bad things to happen to you. I
Shit
want
rocks.
bad things to happen to you. I want very bad things to happen to you.
Yes, that's right. He wants bad things to happen to you, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the man right here. The one and only from Frankenstein Drag Queens from Planet 13. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Wednesday 13. Are you doing the, what's that, the intermittent fasting? Is that what you're doing?
That's what I heard that I was doing. I just do my own thing. I don't prescribe it. I don't know. I've had coffee. You're not supposed to do that during fasting, but I do. So yeah, I just do what works for me. And since I've kind of cut out eating a lot, I don't really think about it. It's weird. It's like I've disciplined myself. I've become the ninja, which is really oddly the name of the blender that I use for my smoothies. Ninja.
That's awesome. I mean, that's awesome that you did that. I mean, congrats on getting healthy and getting sober. That's a tough step, man.
It was, but it was like, I tell people all the time, listen to your body. And my body was saying, hey, you fucking me up. You're fucking me up. Like the last
slow down
for me up till that point, my hands were just shaking. I couldn't even hold the microphone without it being in a stand, without rattling my teeth. It was that bad, So
you had the alcohol shakes.
Yeah. And before the show, it would get even worse because I would go into a panic attack, and I'm going, oh fuck, this microphone is just doing this, and I'm like, so I would keep it. And I would just breathe. It was like the first 3 songs were trying to meditate, even though I'm drunk. I've been drinking the whole day anyway to try to, just to, hair the dog that bit you, and
right.
So,
right.
Yeah. So it was just bad. And I stopped. I hit the reset button, and here I am. And I'm 2 years, like 4.5 months now without any booze. Yeah. So that was all I ever did. Awesome. I still smoke weed. They call me Weeds Day. So I'm not the guy that's going, I'd go to AA. I'm not putting that down or anything. I didn't need it. I literally said, what made you happy before you found alcohol? And you can see behind me, I have Castle Grace.
Yes. That's rad.
I literally went back in a time machine. I unplugged my television from the news, and I went back and literally started watching everything from the 80s. And what I do all day, I watch YouTube. You can type it in and watch 80s commercial breaks for the entire decade of 70s, 80s, and I just have it on repeat so much where I look over and I go, fuck, there's an earthquake in LA, but it's not because it's 83.
Right.
And I catch myself and go, oh, fuck, Reagan just got shot.
I'm looking at the back here for all the people that are just listening on this. I'm looking at his room. His room is just a
part of it.
Horror. It is shelf after shelf of action figures and posters.
It's a variety of stuff.
It is a shrine to 80s horror.
Everything.
What is it? I can't make out some of the things in the very back though. Is that the thing in the very back right there?
This is
Escape from New York.
No, that's over there. You can't see.
That's what I'm looking at.
Snake Plissken's over here.
Snake Plissken.
Yeah. So basically, this is Snake Mountain and the Fright Zone behind it. This is my horror figures, and I got Mr. Potato Head up here at the top. Beetlejuice. I got Castle Grayskull down here because we keep the good guys down here. Bad guys
Nice.
are always on top. Gotta keep the good guys. Even though I pull for the good guys. So, but yeah, this is just basically a variety of my.
Is there any Star Wars? Were you a big Star Wars nerd? I can't see if there is here.
Hold on.
All right.
For my
He's
40th
got
birthday,
Jason masks and
for my 40th birthday, I went to a place called Saber Forge in Oregon. Now, this is the real deal.
wow.
I dropped some bucks on this. And for my 40th
awesome.
birthday, this is the real deal. Check this out.
Wow,
Knife.
dude,
You don't get
that's sick.
this shit at Walmart. Now, I'm going to show you this thing right here is like you said. So
Oh, nice.
dude,
For everybody who's listening, he's got like basically a real lightsaber. It's freaking awesome.
and
Dude,
this
that
is
thing
why-
looks exactly
back
that
then,
thing.
I'm a good guy.
It lights up exactly like a lightsaber. That's what's amazing about
with weed smoke.
it.
I got my own like Star Wars rave in my room. But yeah, dude, this thing is there you are. And I don't
Very
travel
cool.
with it because as you can see, this thing is like a fucking weapon. It would maim somebody when you take
Yeah,
the
that is like straight up
I can't
stainless.
travel on a plane with it. I'm afraid to put it with my check stuff because some guy's gonna be like, now I got the force. Because it is
That's
that
brushed
cool.
like brushed steel or brushed aluminum nickel or something, right?
It's the real deal. So it
That's
was like
insane.
$450. There's a place. I think at the time it was the only saber place in America, and as far as I know, it's still the same place. So check it out, Saber Forge. Your dreams can come true. And I got a green
That's pretty rad.
lightsaber. People ask, why not red? Because good guys wear black too. Just remember that. Chuck Norris movie.
Because what?
Good
Why did you
guys
say
wear
'cause
black. Chuck Norris movie.
Right.
It's first. That's what you got to remember. Good guys wear black too.
Is that the Skywalker?
Yes. That was
lightsaber right there.
from Jedi because the blue one.
Okay.
The blue one was chopped off and fell in Empire.
Right.
Which
in
is
Empire.
rumored to be
What color was Obi-Wan's? Was that blue also or green?
I watched it on VHS. It could be blue. It could be white. I don't know. If I adjust the contrast, I'm not quite sure. I haven't watched that on like HD in a while, but I did hear that one of the stars.
I'm just trying to remember. I want to say it was green or blue. It was either green or blue.
I don't know. I played the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back game on Atari on a black and white TV. So I have no idea what it really looked like. So you had to shoot the AT-ATs till they faded. So it would go from black to dark gray to nothing. That's the greatest game. That's the only game I know how to play. I don't play any other games. That's it. Super Mario.
Were you a big Escape from New York fan?
Oh man, the soundtrack, everything.
Fucking soundtrack. How good! Even now, I just played that on my podcast like a month ago. I was like, this soundtrack is so fucking good.
John Carpenter had some great stuff. Even Assault on Precinct 13. My whole vinyl collection is all soundtracks, and it's not just horror. It's everything. I've got Rambo on soundtrack. I've got everything from Stallone. I've got Chuck Norris. I've got Easy Money, Rodney Dangerfield on vinyl.
Nice.
Show them
This just the soundtrack.
Just the soundtrack to the movie.
There's no like dialogue or anything in the soundtrack.
It actually had a soundtrack and I've got Rhinestone with Dolly Parton and Sylvester Stallone. Now that's a classic.
I tell you what, but that was, that's funny that you bring this up, and I don't really know anybody who does bring this up. But I'm older than you, but I was also a total soundtrack nerd. Like I had the Empire soundtrack, I had the Star Wars, Saturday Night Fever. Those were like songs that people had, but I also had the other soundtracks. I had like a bunch of Burt Reynolds soundtracks, and like that 70s shit was like, it was fucking great.
I got Sharky's Machine soundtrack.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like I collect. That was the period of my life. Like my family, I grew up in a trailer. I didn't get my own bedroom until my sister got pregnant and moved out, and I had room to get a room. I slept on the couch. So my neighbors had paid for HBO Cinemax when they had the little brown box with the little selector switch 1 through 24. Remember, HBO was channel 15, Cinemax was 24. So this was in my bedroom, but it's also the living room. So when the parents go to sleep, we got illegal HBO Cinemax.
Right.
Little me, I can't sleep with the TV off. Porky's, First Blood.
Well, trailers are loud though. There's no like insulation, so you kind of do have a point that like it's fucking loud.
And I would watch, and I seen everything. I watched everything right when HBO became the real deal, and like
right,
all the Skinamax. I was seeing movies at 7 years old, going, "Oh, this is what's going on."
Oh, I can't even tell you how many times I jerked off to Cinemax because like at 1 o'clock they would like blur it out and like make it these like weird lines and stuff. It's like I think I saw a titty right there.
I know. We had friends trying to build a descrambler to scramble that, So
nice.
Yeah. So that's my life.
That must have been a perfect time because that would have been like all those kind of classic 80s horrors movies. A lot of Kurt Russell, a lot of Scarface probably. Scarface was on endless loop on HBO back then. I have
in the back, I don't know if you can see, I have The Jerk, Steve Martin.
Yes.
To me,
love The Jerk.
That is as important as Leatherface to me. It's like that movie is genius. It's first off, he was a poor Black child in this movie. I mean, that was unheard of back then. That was pushing the button, and really pushing the button. So I can quote it. It's anywhere between The Jerk and Pee Wee Herman is my world.
What was the next movie that Steve Martin did where he was like he played like somebody like an autistic person? No, it was like. He was like an autistic person in a rich house.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yes. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. That was the other.
I have that queued up to watch this afternoon. That's on my list.
Did you really? Because that was the other, like, they played that endlessly on HBO back in the day. And that was good stuff, man.
There's one called The Man with Two Brains that he did right after The Jerk. And that's where he's a brain surgeon that he takes Kathleen Turner's brain and puts it in the body.
Oh, right.
But the best part is there's a part where he's trying to get up this building and he licks his hands and he sticks. And I never forget my dad laughing, just falling out of his rocking chair, laughing and going, this. And I was like, yeah, he's licking his hands. And I can't tell you how many times I tried to lick my own hands and climb up a wall like 7.
Right.
Did not work.
He was so fucking funny though back then. God, man, he was just on a whole other level.
His hair was gray. It confused me.
Yeah.
I thought he was old. And I'm like, why has this old man got an arrow through his head? So...
Were you watching a lot of comedy back then? Like, it was probably horror, everything, but was there like stand-up comedy was probably just starting to get played on HBO back then, like the Robin Williams thing, or maybe Eddie Murphy or things like that?
It was Rodney Dangerfield. I brought that up earlier. He had Rodney's Saturday night comedy thing. And I'll never forget seeing Dice Clay's debut on Saturday night after my parents went to bed. And I knew everything that he said, but I wasn't supposed to know everything that he said because it was, you know what I mean? Like after all the movies I've been watching, and I could not believe it. Called all my friends. Oh my God, there's this dude who looks like Elvis. And he said, Little Miss Muffet said on the tuffet. It was in the bowl, bitch. So I'm laughing about it, but I'm laughing. And that week, I kept seeing the previews, see it again this weekend. And me, like a little kid, not thinking about it, laughing. I'm talking to my dad. Oh, you got to see this. You got to see this. You got to see this. Okay. Mom, you got to see this. Setting myself up for disaster. So my parents gather around the TV Saturday night for the reshowing the following weekend. And I'm like, oh, here he comes. And he comes out and goes, Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet. And he comes and
eating her curds and whey.
Along came a
spider and sat down beside her and said, "Hey,
what's in the bowl, bitch?" And I looked back and my parents are going. And then he goes right into the next one, and I'm like, "There's no remote," and I'm like, oh God, this is melting down. And he's like, "Mary, Mary, quite good, Jerry," and I was like, "No." Trim, that pussy is too damn hairy. Joe, I don't even know what it means. I don't know anything.
Right. It was just so over the top. You knew
I
it
run
was
to
crazy.
my bedroom over here on the couch. So that's
my
my
bedroom
life.
over here on the couch.
I could never run to my bedroom. I just ran to the couch.
Is this in? You grew up in North Carolina, right?
Yes.
Or,
I lived there up until 10 years ago. So
okay.
China Grove, North Carolina, between Charlotte and Greensboro. So it's like
what was it called? I couldn't hear you.
Grove.
China Grove.
Yeah, like the Doobie Brothers song. Even nothing to do with it. But it's a little place called China Grove. It's basically what people refer to as like kind of Mayberry. It's very Andy Griffith in that area.
Yeah.
And so he's considered a national monument treasure there. So
is that where Mayberry was? In North Carolina?
Mayberry actually was not a real place. It was actually filmed here in Universal Studios, but they based it off all the towns sound like places in North Carolina. They just changed the name of the inn. So instead of like Greensboro, it would be like Greenfield.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was loosely based because that's where Andy Griffith was from. So, and that's why he brought in all the hillbilly people like Gomer Pyle and all these guys. It's like, there's a funny guy back home that's be perfect for this. And so it's cool when I watch that show, and I watch it to this day. Like, I've annoyed my band members when they hear that whistle. They're like, fuck, he's up on the bus watching Andy Griffith. But dude, would he not be the perfect tour manager? He always solves it without violence.
Right.
And lessons learned. You feel better.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate like tour
manager. He would be a good tour manager. Now that I think about it, he would be a great tour manager.
Yeah, he would just be like, look,
need that even keel to, bring in the.
Yeah, you tell your bass player, look, you put that bass string in your shirt pocket. You got one bass string. You use it that's what they did to Barney Fife. It was one bullet. They made him put it in his pocket, shooting himself in the foot. So this is what I know. I know all this. This is all my knowledge. I have been.
So your parents, you grow up in a trailer in North Carolina, and you're watching a lot of Andy Griffith and HBO and
everything,
stuff like that. Is the trailer? Sometimes like my dad grew up in a trailer, and we lived 3 blocks away from the trailer park that he lived for a pretty big chunk of his life. And, this was, my dad's 80 years old. So it was a brutal, no toilets. No, like they had to shit in a bucket and go and take it and then dump it in a hole. And, we were, lower middle class, but we had like a very small little house in San Lorenzo, which is just like this white trash town. And we would walk by that trailer park, and he would tell me about growing up there and show me the trailers. He grew up in an aluminum shed trailer, no running water, and it was just 5 people in this tiny little aluminum shed. And he used to tell me about how when it rained, how fucking loud it was. He was just like because it was all aluminum.
I'm terrified of thunderstorms and tornadoes.
And so even though I knew we were poor, that was my relative, you know what I mean? Like that was like, oh wow, like we're not. We got a toilet. Like we're doing all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my dad had an outhouse. My dad grew up like my grandfather was born in 1900, and he died in 1983. I remember the day Swamp Thing debuted on HBO. And I couldn't even process
the movie to associate.
Yeah, I'll remember. I remember my dad. I never seen my dad look upset. He had came home from the hospital, and I had met my grandfather a couple of times. He was just this. I remember him just being a mean old man in a rocking chair, yelling at Ric Flair on the wrestling.
On the wrestling,
he'd call him a white-haired son of a bitch, and I remember that constantly. That's all I remember.
He hated Ric Flair.
Hated Ric Flair. And I love Ric Flair, but I remember my dad coming home, and I remember he looked depressed, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, Swamp Thing's on," because normally he's like all into me watching cool stuff, and he was like, "I'll watch it later." And then my mom was like, "Your grandfather has passed away," and I was kind of like, "Whoa!" So I kind of processed death by watching the Swamp Thing in a really weird, that's strange how things will shape. So in my mind, when I watch Swamp Thing, it's one of my favorites. I went out of my way just like last year to go meet Adrienne Barbeau. paid like $100
Oh, nice.
just to go and meet her, and was like, this movie, everything that you've been a part of is part of my childhood. So, and I won't know.
Totally.
So yeah,
She was so hot. She was so hot too.
Still is. She still is.
That's awesome.
And, so yeah.
She was fucking gorgeous.
She was in Escape from New York. She also was John Carpenter's girlfriend for a while. A lot of people don't know that.
Ah, that's where she got all those gigs. Okay.
Yes. So, so I'm a movie nerd. I'm a TV show.
Where did you
nerd.
go? Where did you meet her at? I mean, were you at like a conference, like a Comic-Con or something, or a con?
I live here in LA, so they have like the Burbank Monster Palooza. So they had it was like Sunday only, Adrienne Barbeau, and I was like,
there.
I went straight in there and got my autograph and talked to her for a few moments, and it was cool. Got a picture with her, and I was just like, and I know now, like not just now, but when I go do that, it makes me know what it's like when I meet my fans. And when I walk away, that energy and just staring at that picture, like I still stare at that picture, and I know my fans do that same thing. So I never, ever lose sight of that. And I don't ever expect, I paid, they could have said, it's $200 to meet her. I'd have been like, cool. I don't care. You know what I mean? So that's being a fan, she shaped a huge part of my life. She was like my first, like older lady crush. She's in everything.
Yes.
She's in
totally.
Back to School, Rodney Dangerfield.
Yes.
And that. So the list goes on and on, but she was super cool.
Take me back to North Carolina though, where you're growing up.
Oh man. It was, I grew up in a little town, and I'm still not even sure because I'm really into a lot of cool, I study a lot of ancient history and stuff now. And I lived in a little town called Enochville, which Enoch is a name and ancient Egypt. And so I lived in a little town called Enochville in my trailer. And I didn't live even though I lived in a trailer, I'm not trying to play that up like I lived in a trailer. I lived in a nice trailer. It was a single wide. I lived behind my rich neighbors who set up a trailer because my dad was an awesome construction worker. And they said, we'll set you up, your family. We'll put you a house. We'll hook it up. It wasn't on wheels. It was brick down. I just didn't have a bedroom. I had I had a brother. I had a sister. I had my mom.
Right.
It was just ran out of room. So, I lived in a little small town. My mom sheltered me. They tried to spoil me as much as they could. They bought me this Castle Grayskull.
Nice.
So
that's an original. That's an original from your childhood.
Yeah.
Wow, that's rad.
And I know that was something that was a lot of money for them. And I love that. I still love that thing. And, so I grew up in front of the television, He-Man, movies, all of that. My dad was a 9-year Vietnam vet sergeant. So anything G.I. Joe or Army, he would sit down with me and tell me every weapon. So I knew at age 7 what M60, M16, P38, snub nose, 57, 44 Magnums. I knew every gun to G.I. Joe. And I keep looking over here because I have a giant G.I. Joe fortress beyond this computer right here.
Okay.
So I learned about all that stuff, but not like and my dad was never like bragging about, did you ever shoot anybody? And he's like, I shot at people, he was never, he was never bragging about it. There's nothing.
Do you think he would have told you, like at your young age, if he would have?
Yeah, I think he would have. And I've asked him recently because now I study a lot of that stuff. And it came out in 2005 that the whole Vietnam War was a false flag. It was a complete engagement on false territory. And I asked my dad about that. And I said, did you know about that? And he was like, yeah. And he just kind of held his head down. And I was like, and that was kind of my answer. Like, he was just like, cause he drafted at 19, went into the Army. The only reason he didn't go back is my mom got pregnant with me on his, during his break. And she was like,
oh, so he went there, fought, and then came back, and then was about to go back.
My father got drafted in the middle of the heat of everything. Went in, did his duty, came back, and said, "I don't like it here. I like it out there." And went back voluntarily. Stayed
Oh,
for
wow.
9 years, got the Bronze Star. You know, his name is George Patton. He was
Crazy.
named after my whole family's military. Like, you know, I was the one that kind of went rogue and went rock star.
Right.
But I do have I have musicians. There's a famous, didn't even know this till like 5 years ago. I'm related to a guy named Charlie Poole, who was the founder of outlaw country music. That Willie Nelson covered his music. He taught my grandfather how to play guitar.
Oh, crazy.
And so I'm learning this because all I cared about when I was younger was G.I. Joe. I didn't want to know my history of my family. I'm learning that in my older age. I want to know what I'm doing. And so either way,
you're all about Cobra Commander. Right.
Cobra Commander.
Yeah,
I had
right.
one in case you said that.
Don't be talking about Cobra Commander.
Yeah, I got him right. So I lived in this little small town. I went to a little school called Enochville Elementary. There was probably it was from kindergarten to sixth grade, and it was a small school. I mean, we had to pray. I remember, I've never been to church in my life, but I know this prayer because I had to say it for 4 years. That God is great, God is good. Let us thank him for our food, bow our heads. We think is for our daily bread. Amen. Now I can eat my chocolate ice cream. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag every day. And if you did something wrong, go over there. You're going to get hit with this giant paddle. And every teacher had a paddle. And you could get
the paddle with the holes in the wood so that it could.
I'll tell you this story, and people think I'm lying, and she can't be alive because she looked like she was already dead in first grade. God bless. Miss Lynch from my first grade, this lady, she had a paddle that her son made her, and this was pretty fucking clever. I've never seen anybody get a class to whip into shape. You could pull a paddle out and go, oh, you better calm down. Woo! Her son made her a paddle, and he put 6-inch nails into it. It was like this thick, but he put nails into it, so it didn't go all the way through. And he put washers on it, and he painted them red. So she literally had a fucking tambourine.
Wow. Yeah, that's like some kind of Viking shit.
So whenever the class would be rowdy, nah, 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 she'd go like a fucking rattlesnake, and everybody.
Crazy.
That's how it was in my class.
That sound that became like after a while, that was the trigger. Like, oh shit, I don't want to get that thing.
I would hear like my dad working out in the garage in his little tool shed, and I'd hear sounds of washers. It's like rattlesnakes, you know.
PTSD.
So that was kind of like my school. It was really, really small. Went there till sixth grade. Then it was on to seventh and eighth grade was middle school, which was complete hell. I got beat up every day to the point where my mom would drop me off, and I'd wave and watch her leave, and I would go run onto one of the school buses and hide in the back seat because my first class was like a health. It was like your health education plus your physical education. So they would have 1 month or 1 week where you would actually do physical education. Then you had the weeks where you would have to learn about health and the body and how this works and stuff.
Right.
But it was in this old abandoned part of the school behind the basketball place. So when you're in seventh grade and you've got kids that are in ninth grade at that point who had been there for 3 years. These are like seniors. And I mean, we looked like little kids, and they would hang out in this hallway, and they would call us fresh meat, and they would grab us and they would beat us.
And you're seventh grade at this point?
Seventh grade.
Like this is
seventh grade, wearing a Def Leppard t-shirt, wearing the fucking women t-shirt, the one with the
Pyromania.
The Hysteria, the one from where he's on the board is like a cartoon. I love cartoons, and Def Leppard was my jam during that time. And I remember they'd be like fresh meat, and they would beat you everywhere but your face, so you couldn't show the teeth.
Oh shit!
You know, and they would pull my underwear. I mean, talk about wedgies. you've did wedgies to your friends.
Yeah.
You ever had a violent wedgie with like 8 people that really don't like you?
No, I've never had an 8 people wedgie.
So my family, not having a lot of money, I had a week supply of underwear. These motherfuckers were ripping my underwear apart, and I was afraid to tell my mom. So I was hiding my underwear every day. And one of my mom's big explosions coming into the bedroom one day. I want you to tell me right now, where is your underwear? I don't want to talk about it. Are you having sex? No. What are you doing with your underwear? I'm doing nothing with it. And are you shitting in your underwear? No. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Just so much shame. You're like,
oh my God.
You don't want to say
and I'm like, I'm getting beat up. Okay. They're ripping my underwear over my head.
Does your mom know what a wedgie is?
I didn't know what it was then. I just knew it was fucking ripping your underwear to the elastic over your head. And if it lasted, even though I had shitty underwear, I saw kids had good underwear get hung up on like poles.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like the underwear was too strong to break.
Thankfully for Clorox and cheap material, I was
right.
It's like Hulk Hogan. Like, yeah, you just bleach it out. So
you can get away with it. You can get away from it.
I would have started bleaching out my underwear where it just ripped or just cut it. That's what
are you fighting back at this point? Are you like, I mean, is it just like, if you fight back, it's even worse? Or
I wish I tell myself now to go back. Oh, I would Chuck Norris the fuck out of this.
I mean, they're probably fucking way bigger than you. Like, I mean, 7th grade, you're still a small.
I was
like you're not. Yeah. Like 1 or 2 years later, you might be turning into a man by then. But at that age, you're still just.
I was 100 pounds soaking wet, skinny. I guess you could say I was like a little Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. I looked blonde hair. My mom tried to dress me like Ricky Schroeder from Silver Spoons.
Okay.
You know, like a gray sweater and then like a shirt popping over the top of it. And then I broke free of that and started wearing Def Leppard shirts. But yeah, so I would have all these kids, you know, or this little gang of people beat up me and my friend. And then me and my friend became kind of united. And we started listening to music. And we started listening to getting the Nightmare on Elm Street 4 soundtrack and discovering bands like this band called the Sea Hags that nobody had heard of. We're like, fuck yeah. San Francisco, I think, Sea Hags.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They're fucking awesome. And I was like, you know, so just started discovering music through my friend who got bullied, and he played drums, I play guitar, and we started. So I guess what I'm kind of getting to, my whole point is that was my learning area of being bullied. And I hear a lot of kids I can't imagine what it's like being in school these days. But it's been going on. If you watch any old movie, I mean, My Bodyguard, that old movie, the kid getting picked on, so he hires a guy. It's 3 o'clock high. It's bullies. It's been going on since Little Rascals.
Yeah, I mean, Karate Kid is, you know, kind of
going on since Little Rascals. Butch.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't mess with Darla, Alfalfa. I'll fuck you up. You know,
it's a little different now in that it's a lot more on the socials now, which is kind of weird.
Fucking crazy now, but yeah. So either way, I look back on that experience as learning. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it made me who I was, who I became, and through those kind of things, I learned to stand up for myself over the years and stuff. But yeah, so that was kind of school, and I was kind of I wouldn't say an outcast. I wasn't trying to be an outcast. I would wear a blood-sucking freak shirt.
I mean, were you like because you were a rocker? Is that why they were beating you up, or just because you were like you were just new?
Point, this is me wearing a Def Leppard shirt, pretending in the mirror to be a rocker. I had no idea how to play guitar. Guitar didn't come in till around 9th grade. After that middle school experience, so that was just me listening to music, getting inspired. Watching Bill and Ted, learning how to tie my shirt around my waist, be, you know, cut my sleeves. I was getting more into the looking like a rocker than actually knowing what, you know.
Right.
Going to ninth grade, which is the high school years, 9 through 12. I remember going to school wearing a Bullet Boys t-shirt. Yeah. And an Enough's Enough purple jacket.
Nice.
Dude, everybody in the hallway, I remember, had Dream Theater shirts. Queensryche Empire had just came out. Dudes over there talking about the bass lines, like, dude, this is how you do it. And I'm just,
and you're like, enough's enough, bro.
And they're calling me poser. Enough's enough sucks. And
I'm surprised you didn't get into like Motley Crue, like Shout at the Devil at that point.
I was, but the thing was, I love
that would have been like the dangerous, pentagram.
Don't get me wrong, Alice Cooper, Wasp, Twisted Sister, those were all my favorite bands. But me finding like a small band that like everybody had Motley Crue. I could write a letter to Chips Enough, and he'd write me back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was like personal. So those
guys
happen. Like,
you wrote to Chips Enough.
I didn't write Chips Enough. I wrote. Remember the band Tuff, Tuff.
Yes, Tuff.
Stevie's a good friend of mine. I joined their fan club, saved my lunch money. Didn't tell my dad I wasn't using it. Ordered their demo. He wrote me a letter, and I was like, "Wow, that's my."
Was that a Midwestern band?
They were Sunset Strip's next Poison.
Okay.
And they just got signed to Atlantic Records, and that was my band. And my first concert at 15 years old in a club. It was fucking awesome. And now he's a good friend of mine.
In North Carolina.
I saw them when they came through North Carolina, and
like Charlottesville or something, or
Hickory,
Charlotte,
North Carolina.
Hickory, yes, home of the 3M plant. I played Hickory, North Carolina. Yes, I know. I played a pool hall in Hickory, North Carolina, and we were on tour with a band that had 3 black dudes in it, and we all shared a bus. And the first thing when we walked into the promoter looked in and said, "What the fuck are those niggers doing in here?" It was like we were a pack of wolves. Like threw them up against the wall.
I know you have to know my tour manager, Roger Smith, went out with Soil. Black Roger. He's one of the only black guys that tours with us.
I mean, I might. Yeah, I'm not sure. That doesn't ring a bell.
He's been my tour manager, and he went through North Carolina at a place called Wizards, and we're thinking Wizards and Warriors. Nope, the Ku Klux Klan Wizard.
Oh my god!
Airbrush behind the bar, and I was just like, Roger. And he was like, "I'm out of here, dude." And I was like, "As you should be." And it was just, dude, it's people don't realize. It's crazy.
Was that recently? Was that recent? Fairly recent?
That was in 2009.
Yeah, I mean, not that long ago.
And it's called Wizards. I'm not lying. My two friends.
Crazy.
My two friends were going to go walk and get cigarettes, and the guy at the club yelled out the door, "Hey, y'all too pretty to be walking out." And they were like, "What does that mean?" And it was just this, and it's crazy. We're talking about this because it's during the times of just shit that I seen as growing up. I've seen 2 actual Ku Klux Klan gatherings. I've seen.
Holy shit! Really?
I've seen these.
Wow.
And I seen these when I seen it in my high school, because
when you were a teenager.
The first one I saw was in '83, and I remember we had a rival school, all black school, all white school was my school, and they had a big rock.
I mean, even in '83, like segregated like that.
They had, but it wasn't really. It just. That was the part of town where all the black people lived, and they went to that school. And we had maybe 20 black people in our entire high school. So they had a big rock on the main street that was shaved, and they would write, "We're going to kill you," to our school. And then our people would sneak in like saboteurs and go, "You're dead." And it was like that rock was like, "Oh fuck, man, that's the rock." Everybody got. That was like the internet then. What's going on with rock? Well, the rock got heated. We got heated, and my brother was really good friends with a guy that lived right across the street from the high school. and it had a porch view. Like they couldn't go anywhere. So it was just like as crazy as you saw people in Los Angeles yesterday, just tons of people in front of this high school. They had the police block it off. And I saw Ku Klux Klan people on horses in front of this black high school.
Wow.
And I'm too young to even understand what they were even there for.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
pretty ugly.
remember going with my brother to go play video games, and he goes, "Hey, we're going to Mark's house. There's some shit going down." All right. So I seen that.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah. And that's like, you got to think about that. That's grown men. That's grown men going to fuck with a bunch of teenagers at high school because they're black.
Even then, I'm just sitting there going, "Why? Why is this happening?" And then in high school, I remember sitting at lunch by myself, and there was our little part of lunch where you didn't have to sit in the cafeteria. You could go sit anywhere, like in what they called the courtroom or the courtyard or whatever. And everything was glass. So I could be sitting here and I could look behind me and see what was going on down the hallway. Mm-hmm. So I see a big commotion going on, and I see everybody running. I'm like, so I stand up to try to go, because that's what you did in school. Fight. And everyone runs to go see the fight.
Totally.
So I'm like, I'm already last in line. I'm just like, fuck. So I just look, and I look through the glass, and I've got perfect view to see what's going on. And there is a senior who looks at this age. Even then, he looked just gigantic to me. And there's about 15 maybe black girls fighting with him, and they're hitting him, and he is pow, and they're spinning out like in a cartoon, like knocking them out one at a time, but they're attacking him, and they're all screaming, and he's screaming the N-word back. And dude, they locked all of us down. This is before schools had lockdowns. It was like, well, you can't go out. Like the teacher like pulled the key out and locked the door. Some kids didn't have locks. They put a chair up against it. All the black people were walking around, and all the white people going, "It's on now. It's on now." This is in my 12th grade year, and I got locked into my classroom, and guess who was there by 3 p.m.? Ku Klux Klan on horses.
No shit. Wow.
So this is something that goes on deep within shit. And, so, with all these protests and stuff that people are doing, it's spreading awareness like crazy. But I keep saying what I've been saying is, and I hate to say this, Cobra Commander, but we got to take out the bad guy, because that's the one that's starting all this shit. Take out the emperor, because there's one guy and one group of small people that's leading all of this shit. That's caused all this. It's caused every bit of it. And we keep looking about, how do we solve this? We're finally waking up to realizing what's been happening to black people for way too long. And now it's like people just need to fucking wake up and see the bigger picture. Yeah, that is a problem, but what's causing that problem? Who gives those orders? Who tells those cops what to do? Who tells Donald Trump what to do? Because he ain't fucking running the show. That guy doesn't even, all he runs is his Twitter account, which is obvious. That's all he does. He goes out and reads a teleprompter, throws in a couple of things. It's just, people need to be aware that people like Bill Gates is pushing vaccines that aren't tested on people, that are being tested on people right now, but normally would take 8 to 9 years to be safely tested, that he wants to pump out by this fall for us to put junk right in our arms. And he owns it, and he will quadruple his wealth in doing this. So these are the things that I've been pushing on my social media is going, stop the 1%, because that's what they are. We've seen this week, in the past couple of weeks, how big we are as people stand up for all of it, because it's just a few people. This is what Cobra Commander was based on. He was the dude, control the people. And so when everybody's on this quarantine, and that's what I do, I've researched everything and not just the quarantine. I've just been researching it for years. All of this is because of the puppet masters. And we got to cut those strings before any of this is going to change. This is changing now, but for real change, we got to take out the emperor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty amazing. I was just watching when I was eating lunch today. I was watching how a bunch of people are toppling the Confederate monuments. Like, there's all these monuments throughout the South to, generals, Robert E. Lee, even lower, even many of the lower military people.
Yeah,
that are just like, and they weren't said. People are like, "Oh my God, you're taking away our history." And I'm like, no. Those weren't even put up till like 90 years ago. Like, those weren't erected right at the end of the Civil War. They came like 150 years after the Civil War ended.
Yeah,
like some time, some.
Well, speaking of statues, this will give people that watch this something to look at, and people will say, "Oh, what you're saying is crazy, puppet masters and cut the strings," and you want to talk about statues. Look up the George Washington Monument, not the one that we see that's on the big mural that's painted, but look at what he's doing in that picture. But look up the original monument that was a statue. George Washington does not have on a shirt. Never seen him shirtless before. So ladies out there, like old men, check it out. Either way, he's got no shirt on. He is in the same almost pose of Baphomet. He's got one hand up and he's got one hand with a sword doing Baphomet.
Okay.
And when the people in charge saw this, they went, "No, they can't represent George Washington without a shirt on. That's not right. That doesn't look like him." So they didn't use that. I don't know where this statue resides now. You can look it up and see it. It's full on. It just looks like it looks fucked.
And this was made while he was alive? This was after he was dead.
This is the George Washington monument that was supposed to be our America, like the Abraham Lincoln monument.
Okay, like the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Memorial.
This be the Washington, but they don't have that.
Okay.
I don't know where it resides because I'm not being an expert on this. I just know that this exists and it sparked my mind. But so what they did to make a meet in the middle, now there's a painting of him and the big mural and with him, and he's doing the exact same pose, but he's just got his general jacket on.
Okay.
So
he's got the hand up and the other hand out, huh?
Symbols and everything, you can trace it back to see that there are people that don't want good stuff for us. They don't want good stuff for the public, and you can start looking onto your phone.
I mean, a lot of it's just the rich people. I mean, look at
it is.
I mean, that's the thing that infuriates me more than anything is like, the fucking NFL doesn't pay taxes. Churches don't pay taxes. Billionaires don't pay taxes. Don't pay. And I'm not talking like a little bit. Like you and me and everybody else who's listening to this right now, we got to pay 35%. That's what we got to fucking pay. That's what it adds up to. And especially when you're, we're basically independent contractors. Like even though we're we're in a fucking band, but like we're not viewed as. The way the government views us is we're fucking, so we have to pay that no matter what. I remember there was a year back in 2000 to 2001. It was still when Bush was president, and he enacted this. It was called the marriage penalty, and I had just recently gotten married, and basically it was if you are married but don't have kids or own property, meaning own a house or something like that. Your tax bracket, my tax bracket for those 2 years was 50%. Every dollar that I made, I had to give 50% back for my taxes because I didn't have kids, and they were all, it's all like these Christian fucking morals and like, so you got to have kids and this, that, the other thing. It was called the marriage penalty. That was the nickname that became of it, and I forget what it had some fucking dorky name like the family tax or the whatever. It was something all like
something
fluffy and soft sounding. But when you looked into it for 2 years in a row, I had to pay. And I'm like, I've been doing this for a long time, and I see all these motherfuckers getting away with that. And I'm like, no, you want people to feel more equal. you want people to have more of a say, raise the minimum wage to $25 and make fucking billionaires pay their taxes. You made $1 billion. You should be happy to fucking part with 350 million of it, because that still leaves you 650 fucking $million.
Yeah, and Flint, Michigan's got bad water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you motherfucker. Yeah, people go. Yeah, we can't fix it. Yeah, no, we could use all those. I forget what it was, like 630 billionaires.
Once people realize the bigger picture, like, it's the perfect time to actually almost just like step out of the picture and look at what our world is, and look at what's, Ric Flair said, ladies, what's causing all this? What's causing all this? And you look at it, and like I said, it is people in power that are making the decisions that are making us angry. And I've been researching. There's a really cool dude. I watch a lot of his lectures. This guy named Jordan Maxwell. He's in his 80s. He spent his whole life like studying like symbols and words, and he'll take words and tell you what, and like literally break them down to what they really meant and how they became. And like the word like protest, it's like you're going out to protest what you're doing, but the government is testing you. They're testing to see what your views are. It's like you're committing to it. You know what I mean? So you're doing the right thing, but they know who went there and they know who didn't go there, because this 6 feet separation is not something that a doctor said. This is military that is used with 5G. They tell the soldiers, and someone's probably going to call me out on it, but from what I've understood is that the technology is to keep people a certain distance apart, because if you're too close, you look as one, whereas if you're maintained 5 to 6 feet, you can be identified. So that 6 foot apart thing has been pushed as an agenda, not just for COVID, but for surveillance. And you can look that up. And that's what I heard.
Yeah, I don't know about. I don't go too far. I don't go too far down the conspiracy stuff. Like I've watched a bunch of it, and like most of it to me is just so. It is. Like, I mean, I've gone down the conspiracy rabbit hole. Like I watched Loose Change about the 9/11 stuff, and like I just thought that most of it was bullshit. There was a couple of really good points. I mean, I think the biggest point that that is kind of undeniable is Building 7. Like. Doesn't get hit, crashes, happens to have all of the tax records for FBI and CIA, but most of it, I was like, yeah, this is bullshit. Like, this just doesn't, like, there's just, I get where you're going. I can see that there's this, but I don't believe it. Like, I just feel that, like, for the most part, I think that most people are good, and that, to have something that coordinated is just, nigh impossible.
Yeah.
But
it's a crazy thing. Like,
I think it's like, especially now more than ever, with the president pushing so many conspiracy theories, it's just a really slippery slope that we all as citizens have to like be careful of, because literally, I follow Trump on Twitter, 150 times a day he's tweeting now, and 100 of the tweets are,
I believe.
Yeah, I mean, totally. What's your job? Like, you're the who's got time? I can't even tweet 150 fucking times a day.
What can I say? Like, use your Twitter. All right, it's like
what motherfucker? But like,
tennis ball.
100 of them are conspiracy theories. It's all just and none of it. Just to use an example, in my opinion, because he's constantly tweeting out voter fraud conspiracies and all this shit, and it's like, this isn't because he wants to fix voter fraud. It's because he's laying the groundwork so that if by chance he loses, he can say, this is voter look what I've been saying for 9 months. Now it's come true. Right. Like that's what I feel like we got to be, well, it's one thing to question authority and question everything and, do our research, but it's like, it's another thing to like, we got to step back and be like, no, man, because most people are good. He's going around talking about motherfuckers going around stealing, voter envelopes out of mailboxes. I'm like,
what did he say?
What? Who? What? Who's going? No one's going around stealing shit out of mailboxes.
Well, the thing is, it's complete mass confusion, and like the word conspiracy theory, I don't like it. I don't like to even say that I'm a conspiracy theorist. I said it to someone the other day, and the best way I could put it was, I like a second opinion, and I investigate things. There's as much garbage and stupid shit, just like you said, that you could toss right out of the window. And then there's those points you point out, like Building 7. You go, all right, that sparked my interest, but everything else you said is bullshit. So it's just been years of me looking at little things, taking that little thing, and because I agree, the rest of that movie was a lot of just pulling at little things, but once you start seeing it from and again, this is what I spent probably a decade now researching a lot of this stuff, because I sat around and I turned 44 this year, and I'm a grandfather. I've got a almost 3-year-old granddaughter now.
Nice.
And I'm just, we start pondering, why are we here? And then when I see what's going on in the world, so everything that I post and stuff, I don't mean it in negativity. I mean it in a human way of everybody to just be aware. Like, don't believe everything that you hear, and you have a right to question it. So it's like, and the conspiracy theory word was a word made by the CIA during the JFK thing to discredit anybody that questioned their original story, which everybody questioned the original story. So that's just a word that became the dirty word. So anytime you say conspiracy theorist, you get lumped in with all those people that do it. I like to call it, I'm a second opinionist. So I like to hear this side, because that's how it would be decided in a court of law. Everything would be, you would look at all the evidence. You would look at everything. If we looked at this George Floyd case, bring it in. Examine everything, examine what happened, then examine why this happened, and going back, and you would backtrack it, just like ancestry.com. You get what I'm saying? Like, backtrack that shit, find it. You'll find out the people that caused all of this, and they're still in power, and we are electing them. So there should be a part on the ballot that says none of the above.
Yeah.
That would be, there's this whole are not qualified for me.
Right. Yeah. None of these jackasses.
Jesse Ventura said
it does become to some degree about and like with all authoritarian figures, they have a charisma about them, and they appeal to this personality type, by the way that they are, and like the kind of people, there's a lot of people in America, I think, that and I think you can even relate to this, growing up poor, you're poor, there's this kind of like, I think I even went through that at one point where, you become like proud of being ignorant, you know what I mean? Like you become proud of being like not knowing shit. And you're just like, fuck you, because that's like the armor you've got to wear when you're poor, and a lot of it comes from that. Like you gotta, like, yeah, that's right, I'm fucking poor and I'm fucking stupid, and but like, as life goes on, you grow and you become, you learn things, and you learn, some people change, and other people don't. I am constantly, trying to improve myself, trying to change myself. I look back at the dude I was when I was 25, and I'm like, I don't know that guy anymore, and I don't mean it like a bad thing. Like, I'm not ashamed of that life. That was my life. I was a fucking drug dealer. I was a fucking asshole. I was fucking going around beating up people, stealing shit. Like fucking, I was a piece of shit. Like fucking, and I'm not ashamed that was what my life was. That was just my life. And in living my life, I have evolved into this other thing, in large part because of my wife, in large part just from traveling the fucking world and experiencing so much insane.
Everybody, meeting people. I tell people all the time, what's the best education you ever got? Went into a band and went on tour and met people in other countries. And when you go to another country, how dumb do you feel the first time you went? Me, I don't know about you. I don't know any other languages except for Andy Griffith.
Right.
So when I go to Germany, and
Right.
these Germans are speaking perfect English, and I can't
Right.
even. All I can say is pommes frites, French fries, feed me.
That's
You feel like,
French.
you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So,
and they can speak 2 other languages, which is crazy.
you really realize, you know, the little bubble you lived in and how big the world is. So that's why it's changed my views on things. When I see, you know, again, I don't try to pay attention to the mainstream news because a lot of it's just cycle. No one's doing investigative reporting. They're just literally reading what's on the telephone.
Nah, you know what? I hear that a lot.
You know,
I do hear that a lot, and I think that the New York Times has been around for hundreds of years for a reason. You know, they were around 100 years before Donald Trump, and they'll be around 100 years after because they've got the people on the ground. You know, they've got 450 reporters all over the world. Like they.
Right. I mean,
there's a couple. I agree with you, and for the most part, I think, but there's a couple of like we have to have. That's the thing that I worry about so much in this time is that we have to have something's got to be right. You know what I mean? Like we got to go. Okay, this is right. You know, we've heard Trump now for 3 years go the failing New York Times and terrible CNN and the nasty this and it's like something, Washington Post, this was around like at the beginning of our country. New York Times, beginning of our country, the formation. And I'm not saying that they haven't fucked up or done something wrong, but by and large, everybody has, like anybody in a position of power and leadership, whatever, has made mistakes and, yada, yada, yada. But something is right.
Yeah, I mean,
something's right.
There are people investigating. There are some people that bring stuff. There's a lady named Abby Martin who used to work for Russian Times. It's a news source. And this lady, she goes out and like she gets in the middle of it. She says stuff like that. I've seen people threaten her life. You know what I mean? Like she goes out with her boyfriend. They're huge activists on all this, just all things, So like I said, this is a big movement for us. It's exciting. It's scary, which anything with change is scary, but I think everybody that's waking up to this should wake up to everything. You know what I mean? Like it's
what does your tour manager feel about what's going on now?
I haven't really spoke to Roger. Lives in England. He's from Texas, but he got married and his wife is British and he lives there now. So we just kind of communicate through text and stuff now. So I don't really get a chance to speak with him, but yeah, man, I've just said it's just important for people to know he and I every morning we get up and have coffee and we talk about the world, and we grew up from the same thing. He and I will watch everything from Andy Griffith to What's Happening every morning and talk about the 80s and
What's happening?
Yeah, dude, like it's so weird. His mom and my mom sound like they are the exact same lady, like the way
That's rad.
We tell stories. And but again, man, it's just there's a lot to be changed. This is a good way to move it, but we need to be aware that we're about to put someone else in power that could be another, you know what I mean? Like we need to find the right dude. And I don't think the right dude is out there. You got somebody just saying something because I don't know. I think it needs to, like I said, I think Jesse Ventura said it on some kind of interview I saw. He was like, I'd like to see a ballot that said none of the above. None of these people are fit to represent what I think is America. Right. And I am a Vietnam vet. I am this, and I was a mayor. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of years and a lot of stuff he can throw on his belt. And I'm like, that does make a lot of sense. So if you don't like the people that we are listed, then why do we have to vote for them? Get somebody else. Right. That's how it goes. You know what I mean? Like it's how it works in bands. Vote that song out. Right. No, but we got to pick one. It sucks. It sucks though, but we gotta pick one.
This song don't need to be on the record.
You know what I mean? Doesn't need to be on the record. Just sucks, dude. But we gotta pick it. Imagine
who's that person? Who's that person in your band? Is that you? Is
No,
that you
I
that
don't
goes,
think I
this
have
song
anybody.
sucks?
Luckily, I've moved on from people that do that. Now we all agree stuff sucks. I don't have anybody that's going, but it's on the list. You know what I
We
mean?
made it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we wrote it.
it's just one of those things where I think this is an awesome movement. I think it could keep moving, and it could shape a lot of people up into just seeing. If you know what's going on around you and you want to know what's going on today, just research a little bit, spend that hour that you'd spend watching American Dad or Family Guy, and watch an alternate thing on a topic that maybe you've heard some comparison that interests you, you know, and get a second opinion of it. And that's what I've been doing.
Let's go back to your your music.
Yes.
When do you discover punk rock here? So we got up to the Def Leppard,
Yes.
Tough, Bullet Boys era.
So I was doing.
And how do you discover it?
All those bands I was like mentioning, all those bands that were like aiming to be Motley Crue and Wasp that were getting signed to MCA, Jet Boy, Pretty Boy Floyd.
I hated all those bands.
Every band that came through, you know what I mean? Like, but these were the guys, and you know that because they looked like Motley Crue, but they were people that I could write a letter to, and they'd write me back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
like
they might even be band the club in Charlotte down the way from you.
Exactly. So it was like those were the bands I was into. So I kind of cut my teeth on. I could play. I love Skid Row. Skid Row was that Slave to the Grind. Sebastian's voice,
it's a rocker.
Huge influence on me. And
his voice was ridiculous on that record.
Dude, that guy.
Even the first album's got fucking so many 18 in Life and like
in his prime, Slave to the Grind. There was no better front guy, and every girl wanted him, and every guy wanted to be like him, and that's a Ric Flair for you there too.
He had the hair, he had the body, he had the voice,
and they're the band. And you want to again Skid Row, SNL playing "Piece of Me." You want to see a hair? If people they don't show that because Sebastian fucked it up, and he said "mother trucker," and they told him not to say it, so it's kind of like not used a lot in their.
Really, even now.
I think they just got pissed at him.
Huh.
But like,
wow.
If you want to see a ultimate windmill headbang on watch Skid Row play "Piece of Me" on SNL. It is one of the coolest fucking things you'll ever see. And it's just like Sebastian.
Oh, right.
Dude, it's like it was. And then he goes live.
I was all into thrash metal at this point. But I loved that record. So I had the cassette, and because of when my thrash friends came over, I didn't want them to know that I was listening to Skid Row. So I just wrote SRS to the G on the cassette so I knew what it was. but I loved that record.
Dude, you know, that was the thing. There was a lot of people that I remember going to Japan, Beast Feast and Murderdolls 2002, and we were at all those things are all parties before the shows. And I remember meeting the Shadows Fall guys come in, and I just heard, man, that's the new metal band on the scene. They're all metal. And Brian's got his hair down to his, and I went over to the DJ booth, and I put on Dangerous Toys, Teasin' Pleasin', and that band flipped the fuck out.
Right. They were like, yes.
They knew every word. I put on Warrant. They went crazier. It was just like, so it was cool seeing so that's how I became friends with all of the metal guys like you and Randy and all. So I went straight from being the Sunset Strip glam fan to jumping into Murderdolls, and with Jordison getting introduced to people like you. I don't know if you remember us meeting where we met Joey.
At Slim's?
We met at Slim's. And I remember Joey telling me, he's like, Rob from Machine Head's coming tonight. And I'm like, wow. I was like, that's cool. I was like, is he cool? And he goes, yeah, man, he's cool. But dude, he can be an asshole, man. He will. And wasn't saying, he was just like, you know, he'll tell you what he thinks. And I was like, okay, all right, whatever, you know. And I remember you came down, and, you know, that was in my head, like, Rob going to be cool to me? I didn't know, you know. And I remember we walked up, and Joey was like, this is Wednesday's vocalist. And you were like, hey, nice to meet you. Where are you from? What band did you do? And I said, Frankenstein Drag Queens. And you were like, dude. And I went, oh God, what did I do? And you were like, I listened. And you said, Machine Head used to warm up to our Viva Las Violence record before you went on stage. And I was completely blown away. And Jordison's looking at me going, Robb Flynn likes you.
I can't even tell you, that was the only record we were listening to
awesome.
the whole fucking tour.
How weird
is
it?
On I Used to Fuck People Like You in Prison records. Yeah. I was just like, that's the best album. That's the best record label name ever. I Used to Fuck People Like You in Prison records.
Recorded in North
Which
Carolina.
later became like People Like You Records or some shit.
They had to shorten it. But yeah, that was my record company. I had 6 albums through them as Frankenstein Drag Queens, and then Murderdolls formed, and we took kind of the best songs of all those songs, and that became the Murderdolls record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of people were going, well,
I mean, great fucking name for what? Dude. Just like, let me compliment you on just the best band name ever. Like, well, such a fucking...
it was Frankenstein Drag Queens from Planet 13. I wanted to make sure that it would never be able to fit on a marquee. And if it did, they'd fuck up. That was my goal. I don't know why. That's a dumb goal, but that's what I did.
Goal. I mean, it grabbed my attention. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was crazy album. I was like, all right, I want to fucking hear these guys. I loved it.
Here's the cool backstory.
To me, it was like Misfits meets Too Fast for Love perfection,
it was exactly what that was. And the punk connection, which is really cool, was when I started Frankenstein Drag Queens, I became really good friends with Jeff Clayton, who was good friends with Gigi Allen. And when Gigi Allen...
Oh, shit.
When Gigi Allen died, Clayton did the memorial tour and sang all of his songs. So he has been he was the first guy that kind of went out after Gigi. Anti-Scene was Gigi's band, was the Murder Junkies. And they, Gigi lived at his house. Some of those interviews you see on wasn't Geraldo. It was called wasn't Jenny Jones, it was somebody else. But either way, on the way to go into those shows,
Anti-Scene was Gigi's backup band
for one album. Yeah, called Murder.
Okay.
Yeah.
They played with us, funny enough.
Really?
Anti-Scene played with us in Hickory, North Carolina. That's who played with us.
Well, that's the place that, So, okay. So now you see, that's my little world of people. And it was Buzz Oven and Anti-Scene were the big bands that came out of that area.
Right.
And Firehouse.
Yeah. And Firehouse, okay.
They weren't a part of the group.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a band that came, like a glam rock band that came out of North Carolina that would have been
Firehouse, and you got Firehouse, Ric Flair, Anti-Scene, and Buzz Oven. And that's how me and Randy from Lamb of God became friends, because he knew all the Buzz Oven guys and they knew Anti-Scene. So we would always drink and talk about that stuff. So my first Frankenstein Drag Queen album is designed by Jeff Clayton of Anti-Scene. He hooked me up with the studio. He goes, hey, you want to make a cool record, go down to Clover, South Carolina with Jamie Hoover. That's where I just did my record. And when I heard it, you never heard a local band record sound so big. I was like, fuck, I got to do this. So I went to extra work at my furniture store and took out a $5,000 loan and self-released our first album and sold about 25 copies. And the rest of those boxes sat in my dad's garage for about 6 years. And then the Murderdolls came out and everybody wanted them for $200 a pop because it had all the songs on it. But my dad left them in front of the window and they all got ruined. So I had a gold mine, a demo. I couldn't even give those things away. But yeah, so Jeff Clayton, Anti-Scene, hooked me up with that. And then he turned me on to so much cool music, so many cool videos, Plasmatics. He gave me all my bootleg Alice Cooper footage. I had every Kiss. I had everything from Kiss before they released it. I had all the good stuff. And so he really kind of took me into another world and said, hey, you know what? Pretty Boy Floyd ain't so good. You should check out Blue Cheer. You should check out, you know what I mean?
Okay. Everybody needs that mentor to kind of guide them through or whatever.
And he taught me a lot of shit, and I repaid him, in my mind, on our latest record we just put out. I had him do almost like an intro to the Fog I had him telling a story, and he's also next to me the biggest Alice Cooper fan that I know, and that's my hero. That's his hero, and Alice Cooper does the intro on our new album. So I got Jeff to be on it. I got Alice Cooper to be on it, and I was like, you brought me into this kind of stuff, so this is kind of my favor to include you and my friends on it. So that was a cool little way to tie that all together. So that guy's helped me out. I still talk to him weekly. But yeah, that was where he taught me and basically Frankenstein Drag Queen sound just kept developing over the bands he was turning me on to. There was a band called Wayne County and the Electric Chairs. And then it became Wayne County because he had the sex operation and became a woman. But the songs are like,
why did we lose the electric chairs? Because he became a woman.
He just went solo as
oh, gotcha.
Jane County.
Oh, okay.
They got a song called Texas.
Jane County. I couldn't hear you. Gotcha.
So it goes into like so she becomes Jane County and puts out these records, and you can hear Frankenstein Drag Queen's influence. They had songs like Are You Man Enough to Be a Woman? That was punk rock. They had a song, You Make Me Cream in My Jeans. If you don't want to fuck me, baby, fuck off. All those songs in that I could hear
the influence like with the titles.
Yes. So that was what Frankenstein Drag Queen. We were like Ed Wood inspired, Jane County, Sex Pistols, but we didn't fit because we would wear dresses and we would cause trouble. Like we played with the Murder Junkies, we'd play Punk Fest, and like it was nuts, man. But we had a lot of respect from like punk bands, we were just.
And you had you were doing like the androgynous, like the makeup and the.
But not like RuPaul. Like our thing was to repulse. It was like, you know what I mean? Like we wanted to look like just something that crawled out of like an old toy box, like we look more like dolls, ragged, like dolls. And we'd make our skin, like I would wear liquid latex. I used to put corn pops underneath my liquid latex and hit my face and dust would fall out. It was commitment to play 30 minutes and get a Coke and 2 beers. So that's where theater and theatrics and everything, and it was just like, I love punk rock, I love all that, but I love movies. How do I combine all this? This is what I do, and
I love that too, because that's such a especially like I'm sure you experienced this coming up, but there's always this kind of like macho element of whatever scene you're in. And like anybody who's androgynous or, even pushing that way is always like instantly like, oh, fuck you, this, that, other thing. But like, if you can, kind of put a twist, maybe put an evil twist on it or put a horror,
what I would say, put a twisted sister on it. They did it right.
There you go.
They fucking did it right, and you would not fuck with this guy.
It had to be like so right, it was wrong. Like that's where Poison always lost me. I was just like, you just look like girls. Like you're not like Motley Crue looked like girls, but they had pentagrams. So it was like it was okay. It was cool.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying. It was like Poison definitely looked like Farrah Fawcett and her sisters, and those guys are friends of mine. But they know they were just like. They were the glam dudes. Motley was a little tough, a little bit tougher. They had some pentagrams, but yeah, man, but again, that's my punk upbringing.
To me, there's gonna be like as long as there's an element of like danger to it, that's what makes it exciting to me. What I mean? Like
you want to see some awesome footage. There's footage of Twisted Sister opening up for Motorhead, and Lemmy would come out and go, "These are my fucking friends," and they would come out and just destroy the audience. D is
oh, dude.
I learned everything from that guy as far as getting the crowd going. That one guy sitting down, keep the band going until that motherfucker stands up.
Let me tell you my Twisted Sister story. So I was a teenager, and I was big. Y&T was a big local band. They had like Black Tiger and all these big hits, and they had Twisted Sister coming out opening for him. And we had heard like one or two songs, and we were like, and this is even before the hits. This is like Under the Blade, like when they were more like heavy.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, these guys are pretty cool. And I look at them, I was like, wow, crazy. And I've never been into Kiss. Like I've never been a Kiss fan. So that whole like scene never grabbed me. You know, I was definitely into the punk stuff, but like that Kiss for whatever just never grabbed me, even now. But they came on, and the fucking crowd hated their guts, dude. I was just like, what? Because me and my friend were like up front, like these guys are fucking cool, and we were totally shocked that every single person around us was booing and spitting and throwing shit at him the whole fucking for like 20 minutes. And finally, D just stopped the fucking show, went off for like 5 minutes, just fucking calling people out, firing people up. These motherfuckers are cool. Fuck you over here, but just like boom, 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 and like. It just like wildfire, the whole fucking crowd was like, these guys are fucking cool. All right. And dude, for the rest of the fucking show, they owned it. I mean, fucking owned it, killed it. I was like, God damn, I've never seen anybody take that anger and just twist it around, dude. It was fucking rad.
Master, and he's did that. You've seen that. That's cool that you've seen that personally. You can look up videos of that. There's a video of him on some live show, and they have the breakdown, and he's like, what? You don't like me because I look like this? What if I take it off? And he stops and takes cold cream and starts wiping his makeup. This is like Top of the Pops or something.
Right.
And he wipes it all off.
Oh, Top of the Pops.
Yeah, and he's like, you like me now? You like me now? And the crowd's like, yeah! Dude, it is the coolest. So D. Snyder,
that's pretty rad.
Alice Cooper are my heroes. Alice did the theatrics, my voice, all inspired by that. But as far as drill sergeants go, there is nobody better than D. Snyder. And he looks better than he did like right now.
He looks amazing. Yeah, he's in fucking incredible shape.
So he is another person I aspired to be like. So him and Alice are just like, as I get older, they keep getting higher on my level of going, yes, when I grow up, I want to be like you.
Yeah, I mean, Alice is what, 72 now?
Yeah.
I mean, and still touring. I mean, up until the pandemic, but you know, like was still touring.
He tours more than both of us. I think
it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
And we tour a lot, and he nonstop. He loves it, and he takes his family with him. His band's his family. He's one of the coolest. Just talk about a guy you meet, and you hope he's cool, and he just takes it to an all new level. That guy he's the master, you know, and just talk about knowing his craft. He walks on stage, he's Alice. He walks off, puts on a pair of white shoes, puts on a hat. He's Vince. He's
right.
Not Vince, but you know what I mean? Like he turns it on, but when he turns it on, just like you said, he turns it the fuck on. And you know what? He's never talked to the audience. Never talked to the audience. He doesn't talk.
Really? I've never seen, you know, what's funny. I've never disliked Alice Cooper, but I just never knew where to start. And so I never,
a lot of places.
I mean, I know the songs, you know, like the hits and stuff, and I love them, and I love the vibe, and I've seen even some documentaries on him. I don't know why I just never went down the whole.
If you watch it, he did everything. He did everything. He's pre-Manson. He's pre.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. For sure.
Snyder on
pre-Ozzy.
He's every bit of that. He did everything. And it's awesome to watch all this stuff. And he just gets better and better at it. Like he's still the best.
I read this book called, what's it called? You Want What's in the Limo. Mm-hmm. And it's about 1973 to 1974, and it's about rock and roll excess and groupies and crazy 70s fucking stories. And it's basically the story of The Who, Led Zeppelin, and Alice Cooper, and how those three bands basically changed that 1 year, 1973 into 1974, changed the way we do rock and roll even Absolutely. To this day. You know, like that, you know, shows used to have seats. You know, Alice Cooper's manager said, fuck this, we need more people, take out all the seats people can stand. Yeah. Okay. And it was really surprising to me because I guess I never. I mean, I knew that Alice Cooper was big back in the day, but I didn't understand that in those 2 years, he was the biggest of all three. You know, I think if you asked anybody now, people, oh, like Led Zeppelin, you know, like Led Zeppelin was the
He
biggest
was the
thing.
man.
At that time, it was the Who was the smallest. Led Zeppelin was in the middle. And Alice Cooper was far and away the biggest fucking draw, doing like, 60 shows, and then take a month off and then do 60 more shows in the US. And like, I was like, holy shit. It was crazy to just read about all
music. It was because of, I mean, the music is great. I love the original band is fucking Bob Ezrin made a real band out of that band. And they were signed to Frank Zappa's label before that. They're like musicians. And, but yeah, man, it's just, they were at a level. If people remember I remember when Manson came out and just how he was the fucking rock star, at the time. And that's what Alice Cooper was at that time. I mean, everybody was like, who is this guy? He has a snake on stage. He's cutting heads off. He's got babies. He's throwing money out in the crowd. He's got a girl's name. He's, like it was just, he was in his, a lot of people don't know that band was such a huge Salvador Dali fan that was all incorporated into a lot of their visuals and just mind fuckery. Like there's a part where Alice would just hypnotize the crowd and they would just keep it going forever to a point where, just like, what are you doing? Like there's a video of him doing that in Toronto and someone hits him in the face with a cake. Who brings a cake to a show?
I know, who brings a cake to a show?
But either way, he would go to the point where he tried to hypnotize 150,000 people.
Wow.
Just going on for like 10 minutes.
Is he talking to the crowd at this point?
No, he's never talked. He's never, well, he may have in the past, but he doesn't talk. He looks at you. He'll introduce the band. He doesn't talk. It's the coolest thing. He literally, if Alice looks at you, that's okay. That's his character. I don't talk.
So even like setting up a song, he doesn't set up a song or nothing. Like
he'll say, "You're all poison to me" or something, and
gotcha.
But nothing like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's on record singing that.
No rock talk.
Yeah, I don't ask you how you're doing. It's like you must be doing good.
I never ask the crowd how they're doing.
I don't either.
I feel like like you're gonna get 2,000 people all like, good, I'm all right.
How you doing? Well, you're obviously you got here. You're doing. So I figured that question is just kind of dumb, but I used to do the thing where I would go, all right, it's my duty as the lead singer at this point to ask you how you're doing. Are you guys ready to raise some hell? And this next song is called I call it the rock and roll handbook. Just go through it. Just the beat, take the piss out of it, and everybody usually laughed about it. So yeah, man.
How does the Murderdolls come about? I mean, Joey Jordison is in Slipknot, who are just a phenomenon at this point. And I know because we had toured together with them on their we took them on their second tour, so like it was a fucking phenomenon that I can't even explain to people. It was the Beatles of its time.
And I saw it from the outside of just seeing it from the public. Like at that time when Slipknot was on the cover of Rolling Stone, right when I think the second album had just
Iowa dropped. Yeah,
Iowa they were on the cover, and I remember I delivered magazines, and I had just put that cover into a CVS. I remember putting that cover. I remember looking at it, going,
"Oh, okay."
And before that, when my daughter was first born, I took a second job and I worked at Hot Topic because they hired me because I had crazy pink dreadlocks. They're like, "You look cool. You want to work here?" Right. And I went,
"Of course.
Can I get free shit and make some extra money?" So I worked at Hot Topic and worked at
Where
Kmart.
Is this still in North Carolina?
Yeah, and I worked at Kmart at night. And my daughter was like 1 year old, and I was trying to make money so we can get a house and get out of the horrible area that we lived in. And I remember seeing Slipknot's T-shirt and CD come in, and our district manager was like, "Oh, this is the new Korn. Everybody's going to be wearing this shit. Oh, I remember hanging it up, and I remember looking at it, and I was like, oh, they look cool. They got masks on. What the fuck is, didn't listen, didn't hear one peep out of them. Kept seeing their picture. I didn't even think I saw a video or anything. Kept seeing the magazines because I delivered magazines later on, and delivered that magazine, them on the cover of Rolling Stone. I remember it was right before Halloween, and I always took Halloween as my week vacation. And I came home, and I had an answering machine that had, "You have 2 messages." Beep. Hey, man, it's Joey Jordison from Slipknot. I got your number. Really dig your band, Frankenstein Drag Queens. Want to talk to you about something. Beep.
That's so random.
What the fuck?
That's so random.
What the fuck? And I'm like literally going, who's fucking with me? Like, because first off, I wasn't a fan. Like, you could have went, yo, this is Alice Cooper. I'd be like, what? This is kind of like just a random guy. I don't know who Joey Jordison is from, you know what I mean? I don't know who he is. And he said Slipknot. And I'm like, these motherfuckers on the cover of Rolling Stone. This guy just called me. What was the coincidence of that? I literally, within an hour, put that magazine down. My last job, last magazine.
Serendipity.
Yeah, and so I call him up, and he's like, hey, I have Slipknot's going on a break. I have a band called The Rejects. I heard your band. I like all your songs. Would you want to be in our band and play bass? And we want to use your songs.
Who was going to sing?
They already had a vocalist.
Right.
They had a guy named Ryan who had been with Joey and grew up with him. And I'm literally delivering magazines, and like just going, fuck, man. And at that point, I think one guy in Frankenstein Drag Queens had just quit. I'd been through like 15 different guys. It was starting to get hard to fit dudes in dresses in that area. To be honest with you. So, I'm literally got kind of a carrot dangled in front of me, and I'm seeing, and I'm just going, man, is this my ticket to get in? Do I go? Do I not? Are my band guys committed? I'm writing all the songs. Fuck it. I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'll play bass. I'll come up. So I go up to Iowa. Joey really took care of me, put me on 4 airplanes to get to Iowa first.
4 airplanes?
Yeah.
Oh, you just having rather than a direct flight.
Yeah. Yeah. My first time ever flying on an airplane in my life. One month after 9/11, where everybody's got machine guns.
Wow.
Terrified. I flew from Greensboro to Atlanta to Chicago to Chicago Midway on a puddle jumper to Iowa to meet a guy that I've only seen in a fucking mask.
Right. Don't even know what he looks like.
I'm ready to do this. Let's go. All right. So I get up there and we meet. We've been talking on the phone. Everything's cool. We get together. We go in the studio. I play bass. The vocalist guy, he's singing all my vocals, and that's a weird thing because I'm sitting there going,
"Oh, they're doing your songs, like they're
doing my songs, yeah." And I'm playing bass,
and someone else is singing them. How weird, yeah, very strange. I'm
kind of going, all right, you know what I mean? It was a weird fucking thing. I'm like, I'm here. This is happening.
I couldn't take that. My ego could not take that. Well, it would have been like, no.
Well, my ego was not. I mean, it started, but I didn't feel like I could be like, hey, I got to say something. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, I'm only here for a few more days. I'm going to go home. Maybe he'll call me back. We'll finish this. Because he was doing Slipknot tours. He was like, I'm going to Japan and Australia and Korea for 2 months. I'll be back. We'll finish this. So it was kind of like a work in progress. So the first work in progress was a 6-song demo with me on bass, a different vocalist, and Joey and me on guitar and bass as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's just 3 of us. So when we come back to revisit it 4 or 5 months later, we come back up. We're adding more songs from my stuff, and we're starting to put the record together, and Joey's like, all right, Slipknot's done. We're on our 2-year cycle's done. We don't like each other. We all need a break from each other. Corey's doing
they hated each other at the end of that tour.
They hated each other.
They hated each other at the end of that tour. So.
And he was like, we got to do something. I want to do this. We're going to call it the Rejects. And so the second time I go up there, we track another 5 or 6 of my songs, and a couple of Joey's songs as well. There was like they had like some reject songs that were used as well, but we changed them too. But it was a bulk of the Frankenstein drag queen stuff. And then I remember we had been there for he flew me up for like 8 days to finish this. And on about the 5th day, I remember the vocalist guy was just not there. He didn't show up. And Joey was like, where the fuck is he at? He was fucking pissed. And I'm sitting back there kind of going, this is my time. It's my time to speak. Time to speak up. Do I say it? Do I not say it? And then right before I'm about to go, we see him come in on the surveillance camera, stumbling. You ever seen that video of that guy that has that thing of that 6-pack, and it's just holding his weight forward and he can't really walk? It's a viral video.
I know what you're talking about.
Kind of walking in like that. And it's hilarious because we weren't like we were all about partying. I mean, that cocaine snort line on the beginning of the Murderdolls is a real snort line.
Nice.
We weren't about not partying. We weren't mad at that. He was just late.
But if you're gonna be getting ready to lay down some vocals, like that's when you're like, hey man.
Joey getting furious about that, and I'm just kind of sitting in the back going, man, this is, and again, I love that guy to death, Ryan, and we're friends, and I'm not meaning any disrespect to him now, but I remember just kind of looking at it and just kind of going, I don't know if this guy could do this, because we did a show and he blew his voice out first show. Even I was doing that stuff then. I'm sure you used to go through the thing till you learned how to do stuff where you just
totally
you learn, and so I was questioning that. And plus, again, it was just weird to hear someone sing Slip My Wrist and me not sing it. You know what I mean? Like, it was just not. So he goes, after that night, Joey's pissed. We go back home, 3 a.m. Joey's mom is up and he's pissed, and he sits down, and him and his mom open up a beer. And I sit down at the table, and he goes, Mom, I don't know what to do.
Is he living with his mom, or his mom's living with him?
He's living at his mom's house at this point. He had never moved out. Go down in his basement, fucking platinum records just everywhere.
Crazy.
Grammy. Well, they had a Grammy then, but I'm just saying, just like, to me, it just looked like, you just lay this shit around here? It was just like downstairs. Yeah. He didn't take care of it. Just so much of it. But him and his mom were just, he valued his mom's opinion like as high as anybody. And she, gave him a lot of advice apparently. And anyway, we sat down. He goes, Mom, Ryan pissed me off. I don't know about him singing. Wednesday says that he doesn't know either. What should I do? And I remember having a cigarette, and she said, get him.
To you.
And I was like, thank you, Mother Georgia.
Have you ever had a conversation with her about singing for the band or anything?
No, I haven't yet. I haven't spoken to her since then, honestly. I saw her at a couple of shows, but like, I remember her saying that, and I was
how funny.
He went, you're right. And he goes, Wednesday, you got 3 days here. I need you to rewrite everything that I wrote that wasn't yours, and we got to get it done before you go home. Not postpone your flight, not come back later, not let's talk to the dude and
let's
say
get it all now.
Go. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to wake up at 3 p.m. You go and sleep in my sister's bedroom. So I sleep in his sister's bedroom, which looks like something you'd see off Family Ties, all white, blue ribbons, me looking the way I do. And I went through, because I'm like, this is my fucking chance. This is my chance. Signed a Roadrunner. I know this is, you know what I mean? I said, you know what it's like.
Yeah, it was already signed to Roadrunner. Yeah.
It fucking possibilities. I got to do this. Shit or get off the pot. Let's do it. So I just start writing. And I wrote all of the lyrics because I already had my previous lyrics, but some stuff had been altered and there was new stuff. So I had to really rewrite about 6 songs and track all the vocals.
Oh, shit. That's a lot.
Within 3 days.
That's fucking crazy. I mean, that's insane.
We went in the studio at 9 a.m. and I did vocals until 3 a.m. until I couldn't talk.
What? That's crazy.
And that is the vocal.
That's insane.
That is the vocal on that first Murderdolls album is about 18 hours of.
I was gonna say 18 hours. That's 18 crazy. Hours.
I've never been in the studio with anybody producing me or anyone going, that sucks, do it again. No, I was paying engineers to go, you know what I mean? Like I never had a producer. Yeah. So I get in there and I'm like, cool, all right, go. And I go, I love to say fuck. And they're like, all right, do it again and don't suck at it. And I'm like, ego busted, you know? But
do it again and don't suck at it.
Hey, I remember them like they just fuck with me hard. Every go, hey, Wednesday, could you try that again? But just don't suck at it. And that became our little funny thing in the studio. But I learned from that. And I went, oh, yeah? Fuck, suck on this. And I'd fucking nail it. And they knew that's what pushed my button. So
nice.
That was a crazy 3-day.
I mean, it must have been a blur. I mean, Jesus Christ, you're just writing lyrics and singing and writing more and changing things probably after you've sung it.
Dude, it was nuts. So we finished it. I went home. My daughter's 3 years old. It's like her birthday around that time. So I'm in dad mode and I'm finishing up. And Joey's like, all right, cool. We're getting everything set up for the record. What are we going to call the band? And I went, well, the Rejects is not going to work. That sounds like every other band. There's a Rejects probably in every town.
I was going to say there's already a Rejects, right? At this point.
Got to be, you know. And he goes, well, what are we going to call ourselves? And he has a notebook that he still has all his Slipknot logos, which is so cool to see. Like, it's like the Necronomicon of Slipknot.
Right.
But I mean, like, it's just got the scripts and they're all, you know what I mean? It's fucking
all the variations, everything leading up to.
And just ideas. And he flips it open and there's the Murderdolls logo, just like you see 100% him.
Oh, shit.
He sketched out himself. And I went, whoa, dude, that's a fucking rad name. And he goes, really? I don't know, dude. I don't know if I like it. I went, it's perfect. We're like the New York Dolls and the Murder Junkies. We've got the androgynous. We've got the violent.
Yes.
Let's be the Murderdolls. Let's mix that.
Yeah.
I don't know. He fought me on it. And I remember the first Roadrunner demos, getting those demos back in the day, you know, with or cassettes or whatever. And here's the first rough draft, vocals up, vocals down.
Right.
Rejects. Until I just said, we got to change it. And then I think one day he finally just said, Murderdolls it is. And everybody's like, that's a great name. And then once he heard that, it was just not even a question. And then, and that's kind of how it happened. And then
were you guys a Monty band?
Yes.
Were with Monty was your A&R, right?
I'm still with Monty now with Nuclear Blast. My last record will be my 5th record with them. So we did 2 Murderdolls and 3 Wednesday 13 records now. So
that's awesome.
It's like our high school. Monty's like our president.
He is.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's a cool president.
That fucker.
He's Mr.
That
Belding.
sensitive nippled fucker.
Yeah. Monty is Mr. Belding. But,
right.
Yeah. So Murderdolls record the album, me and Joey, basically just us. I play bass and guitar on it. He plays guitar, all the drums. I do all the vocals. He does background vocals. That's that first album, me and him. And
crazy. So it was just you two. Yeah, because he can play numerous things. Yeah.
Trip from Static X at the time was in the band, and he played a couple guitar solos because he came in for 2 days and did 3 guitar solos because Joey and I couldn't shred. We could play rhythm all day, but we couldn't shred. We couldn't do the cool shit we wanted to do. So, but we didn't have a band. So we literally picked our band out
by looking through photos. We were like, we met Motley Crue out of the devil. We were like, you know what? We need a Nikki Sixx looking motherfucker.
Right. You guys totally had the Nikki Sixx bass player. Oh my God.
And we
What
found
was his name?
We found
What
Eric.
was his name?
Eric Griffin. And we found
But
Eric.
what was his stage name? What was his
Eric,
stage name?
He didn't change his name. Which
he didn't?
Cool.
Oh, okay.
He went as Eric Griffin. And then we talked to Eric, and Eric was awesome. And then he goes, well, if you're looking for a drummer, I got a guy, and he's kind of got this Tommy Lee thing. He's like 6'7", skinny as fuck, just long arms, and he's killer. Okay. What's his name? Ben Graves. That his stage name? No, that's his real name.
Nice.
I'm like, this is too good to be true. We got a Graves name. So that was the band. It was me, Joey, Trip, Eric, and Ben, who we called the Ghoul, because he was so tall and just he looked like a spider. He became the Ghoul. And then we do the photos, get on the cover of Metal Edge. Paul Gargano thinks we're the next Motley Crue, puts us on the cover. Hit Paraders, all these magazines are putting us on the cover.
Yeah, it was big right off the bat because it's for sure.
Slipknot Unmasked. It was instant. We had instant attention to us. And right when that attention happened, Static X was about to do their third record, and Wayne said, Trip, you got to decide. You either can be in Murderdolls and tour, and we're going to record this new record without you, or you can quit Murderdolls and be a part of the writing process and get writing credit. And that was Tripp's first album to actually be featured on, because he had joined the band after the records were recorded. So it was important for him to do that. And he's like, I got to do this, man. Static X has been my thing. So he left. And the first guy that we called was Twiggy from Marilyn Manson, because he had just been fired from Manson, and he had just auditioned for Metallica.
Wow.
That's
right. I forgot about that. Oh my God. I totally forgot about that.
I remember sitting in a hotel here in Hollywood with Twiggy, and I never met him. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool meeting Twiggy from Manson. And he was just depressed. And because he had just got kicked out of Manson, and he was depressed. And we were just like, I just can't be in a band or do anything right now. And then my friend AC, who was in Dope with Trip, he hits me up and is like, man, Murderdolls sound great. That sounds killer. What's going on with you? And he goes, well, we just got dropped. I'm in a 15-passenger van, and we're all about to kill each other.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that sucks, man. I was like, well, we're going to Japan in 2 weeks playing with Guns N' Roses in Hanoi Rocks. And he said, let me call you back at a truck stop. So all this, again, everybody knows what goes on. This is 20 years ago now. So this is all shit, And
of course,
he calls me and he's like, dude, I want in. And AC was only one of the people because I met Trip and AC together. I used to trade toys and music videos with Trip. And me and AC were glam nerd. AC was in a band called the Vampire Love Dolls that played with Frankenstein drag queen. So we can go back.
Okay.
It's all family, He was just the only guy that I knew. And I'm like, well, Dope signed. They were on their second album. They did some stuff. I'd seen them. Super cool dude. He fits. He's got red and black hair. I got red and black hair. You want in? Yeah. So he quits Dope, joins Murderdolls, and Trip goes to Static X. And we basically went on a whirlwind tour of an entire year. And it was nuts, man. We did 6 weeks with Iron Maiden all through Europe.
Oh, my God. That's crazy.
You want to talk about, you said you never seen a crowd boo anybody? Well, guess what?
You guys probably didn't go over very good on the Iron Maiden tour.
But thankfully, thanks to D. Snyder and us talking about
you
this.
You had to channel your inner D.
Right? I channeled inner D, and I used Heavy Metal Parking Lot. You know that movie, the Heavy Metal Parking Lot? That was on our bus every day. It was new to us because it just came out, Heavy Metal Parking Lot.
Yeah, right.
We're watching it, and we've been on tour with Iron Maiden for a week. Now, this is 6 weeks in Europe, Download Festival. Rock and Ring, Rock and Park, but then it would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Iron Maiden and Murderdolls in Austria.
Oh wow, crazy.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah. So all your off dates are with Iron Maiden. Yeah.
It was sold out without our name even on it. No chance.
Right.
All what I call dick soup, all guys. That's all it was.
Dick soup.
The whole arena of dick soup. And we came out first day. Intro started.
There's no pussy at Iron Maiden shows?
No. Not
wow, crazy.
Then.
Not in Europe, huh? Yeah.
Not in 2002. Not at all.
All right.
Yeah, they're either working backstage and catering or something. They're all guys.
And I know it was tons of, I mean, that show with Slims, it was tons of girls at the Murderdolls shows.
It's changed then. It's changed. This is 2003. So man, no less than 10,000 people every night hating your guts. I remember the first night I blew my voice out trying to get the crowd into it in Austria. Went into production because remember those days when you didn't have cell phones? Hey, can I use production phone? I gotta call my wife. Gotta call my mom. Go in production 001, call home.
Right.
Call my mom. My voice is all breaking up, and I'm like, she goes, hello, and I go, Mom, what's wrong? I want to come home.
Oh my god!
It's just like on the movie Real Genius. If you ever seen that,
you're all emotional anyway.
Dude, I'm crying. My voice is all, and I'm like, I just had 10,000 people throw garbage at me.
Oh my god!
And I remember it was just awful. And then I blew my voice out, and you know how that feels.
Which makes you feel like a loser.
Oh
yeah.
my god!
Like, you're just like, oh my god, I suck.
You can have an amp go out. One thing, guitar go out, your voice goes out. It's something that only
you feel like the biggest pussy in the entire fucking world, and there's literally nothing you can do.
So
you can't power through it. You can't like man up. Like it's just doesn't work.
So that first week, I powered through it, got my voice back, and I went to D. Snyder's school and went, all right, how am I going to unite these motherfuckers? And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm watching, but Heavy Metal Parking Lot's on in the background. And I hear this famous guy in Heavy Metal Parking Lot, dude with the long hair, he's got the cut off Judas Priest shirt, and he goes, fucking heavy metal rules, fucking glam sucks, fucking Iron Maiden, fucking Judas Priest, fucking. And I was like, that's a great speech. What if I twist that speech in a D. Snyder way, but pick out T-shirts in the audience that they may see, because immediately they hate us. We're wearing fishnets, white face, black eyeliner.
Right, yeah.
What's the connection? Why is Iron Maiden bringing these people out? They don't realize we're managed by Iron Maiden's management, and that's why we got the gig. So I'm like, I see a Wasp T-shirt. I see an Alice Cooper T-shirt. I see a shit ton of King Diamond shirts. So I do the speech. I remember it was in Croatia. Outside. All guys. And I remember after that first break, I went, Croatia! Kind of, that.
Yeah.
I went, fucking heavy metal rules. Fucking Iron Maiden. Fucking Judas Priest. Alice Cooper. Fucking King Diamond. And I watched that crowd just like you saw.
Nice. Like, yeah.
And dude, I pulled it right in. We had them to the end of the show every time. So every night, Joey's like, dude, Heavy Metal Parking Lot every night. Dude, Heavy Metal Parking Lot every night. Make sure you do it every night. So
which must have been a total shock for him, because he just came from like literal, like a phenomenon where people are fucking, it's like, if it's not Heavy Metal Parking Lot, it's like Evil Beatles, like people just freaking out over Slipknot.
It was intense. But I learned, that's how I learned how to be a front man, is on that tour, because I know what it's like to have 100,000 people say you suck. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. Like, I want to be in the biggest band in the world, but the crowd hates you.
Did you ever like talk to Bruce about it? Like, hey, got any advice about anything? Or
we didn't really see them that much. They flew in and flew out.
Yeah, they just kind of show up, right? Yeah.
Fucking awesome. But we did almost get kicked off because we got drunk one night and pissed off their 40-man crew. We didn't even know it. And that Croatia show I'm talking, Heavy Metal Parking Lot, was like our day. We made up with Iron Maiden.
So you celebrated, yeah.
Yeah, because we got so mad at us, they made us park down the street and push our gear up to the arena because of what we did. We were in trouble so bad. We called their house mom that does their clothes a bitch. We didn't know who she was. We just thought it was just some random lady yelling out the hotel window, "Knock it off down there." We're like, "Shut up, bitch." It was a hotel only of Iron Maiden's people, and we're down in the parking lot having a wrestling match, and random people are yelling at us from windows, and we're too dumb to realize we're just going, "Shut up, fuck you." And these people got to get up at 9 a.m. and build Iron Maiden stage. So the next day we wake up and our tour manager goes, "What in the bloody hell did you do?" And I went, "Well, I just tied the fire hose in a knot." He goes, "What?" "No, what'd you do to Iron Maiden?" I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You called their house mom a bitch." I went, "Actually, I didn't. The ghoul did." He goes, "You pissed on their bus tire." I went, "Well, that was Joey." He just went to go take a piss, and he pissed on their bus tire, but the driver thought that we purposely pissed on their tour bus.
Right.
It was insane. We had to spend all of our per diems on a Sunday finding a dozen red roses in Croatia, which is almost like finding the lost ark. But we did it. We did it. And after that, we were friends with Iron Maiden. We got to England. All their kids loved Murderdolls, and they were our best friends. They were like, "Hey, will you take a picture with our son?" And everybody loved us. But I met Bruce on his radio show a couple times. He didn't even look me in the eye. So
yeah,
that's my Iron Maiden story. But I learned so much from it. And dude, that was insane. That was the biggest crowds ever played to in my life, and it was the scariest crowds ever played to in my life.
That's awesome. That's an amazing story.
Dude.
I mean, that's a fucking amazing story of like taking a bad situation and turning it around and making it like work for you.
I can do that with anybody.
How funny that came from that movie, that your inspiration came from.
Heavy Metal Parking Lot saved our tour.
Right.
That guy, whoever you are out there, mullet man, thank you.
You start doing Wednesday 13, you get back solo again. So yep. Murderdolls, either ends or just kind of goes on hiatus.
Yeah, basically, Murderdolls toured 2002, 2003. Slipknot went back into the studio, did that Volume 3, the Subliminal record. I remember going to Joey, because Paul just passed away recently. Well, I'm bringing this up. I remember, and Paul's such the sweetest guy in the world. I remember
totally
going to the house when they were writing that album and hearing those songs in the basement of Paul's house, just upstairs, hearing the "I was a worm before I was," hearing those. I remember Corey coming in going, "Man, I got these lyrics," and just sitting down and going, "I was a worm before," and Joey's like playing the beat with him and just watching those guys work. And I was like, man, this is cool. I'm not even, and I wasn't a Slipknot fan, but I was a fan of musicians uniting and
creativity. Yeah.
Cool, and I would stay at Paul's house. He was like, "Dude, you can sleep on my couch anytime," and he was super cool. And I remember hearing the
such
demos,
a nice guy.
Hearing those demos, like Paul and Joey did, from what I remember, they did that entire demo themselves and brought it to the band like already done. Like it was everything, and the guys added their parts to it. Because I remember listening to it with no vocals, and it's just Paul and Joey, and it was.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, they wrote
everything. They wrote everything.
Yeah, totally.
And I remember Murderdolls tour with Stone Sour after Iron Maiden. We did a co-headline tour, so they had all had the demo. So I would see Joey and Corey get together every day and write those songs. I would hear it in stairwells, and it was like cool to hear those songs and be like, man, I heard those guys just talking that. It's just cool how you get behind this and see that stuff. And so either way, they go working on that record. And here I am, just finished touring all over the world, Japan, Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses, everything. And it's like, hey, back to North Carolina. What do you do now? And I said, I'm not going to stop.
Right.
People love Frankenstein drag queens. I got 6 years of history. You liked it. Nobody ever saw that band tour. So I was like, what if I went out as Wednesday 13, did some of those songs, did some Murderdolls songs, and it was a hit. I went to England, did like the Mean Fiddler, sold it out, did all those equivalent venues on nothing, just Murderdolls fame and my name. And I remember in the middle of that, I went, this could work. And if I call it Wednesday 13, and if this guy quits or this guy quits, it's always going to be Wednesday 13. And I was like, no more of the band thing, no more. And it wasn't like a cocky thing. It was just like I'm sick of, because I know these guys I got right now are going to quit. And sure enough, they did before the record was even done. So that made me go solo. And I just continued to do what I did. I tried my best to not sound like Murderdolls. I down-tuned to drop C. Murderdolls is all standard A40 tuning, and so I tried to do something.
But I mean, it's almost impossible. Like when the songs that Murderdolls are playing are the songs that you wrote, So like, there's always going to be.
That's been the story of my life. Like, for example, I'll tell people, like, when I got my car a couple years ago, guys talking to me, making small talk. You in a band, right? Yeah, I'm in a band. What's the name of your band? You've never heard of it. Wednesday 13. Yeah, you're right. I ain't never heard of it. This sign right here. All right. I was in a band before called Murderdolls. Murderdolls? I got that CD. That's the story of my life. So it's like constantly reminding people that I was in that. And some people come to the shows and go, that's the Murderdolls guy. Shit. So I've continued to do it. I've just do what I do. The band Wednesday 13 is, 16 years old now. We're on our 8th record. We're about to record our writing for the 9th record now. So it's like, I've just evolved.
And it seems like your number one song on Spotify is the Bad Things song, which is, that's fucking, it's a great fucking song. Like, great premise.
It is the fuck you, rock you like a hurricane.
Yes.
That's just I was like, it needs a fucking rock anthem and a fuck you anthem. And I knew immediately when I wrote that song, I was like, this will be a cool song. This song, whether it's a radio song, some people are going to appreciate it. And when we play that live, that's when my crowd just goes, boom.
That's awesome.
It's a cool thing.
That's amazing.
I've created a cool thing for myself. I've stuck to my guns. I have been like I said, you can see my world is a very mixed world. I incorporate Steve Martin, Alice Cooper, Twisted Sister, Pee Wee Herman, and this is
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York. Snake Plissken. It's everything. It just combines.
Have you ever gone on stage with a Snake Plissken eye patch on?
I just posted on my Instagram today.
Did you? Did you? That's amazing.
And I will never do that again. I did it at Ozfest last year, the year before, the New Year's Ozfest in.
Because you opened up the Ozfest in LA, right?
I came out with an eye patch. That is something I should have practiced.
Oh, you didn't practice it up, because doesn't it fuck up your depth perception?
Oh my God, more than you will ever. And I've got plus I had to make it look cool, so I put a spike in the middle of it.
Nice.
So my eyes being drawn to. So you've got all these people. There's a lot of people there during this, So I'm going, all right, it's a pretty big show. I can't see. I'm standing up here. I've got a mask on. Because I wear a mask of I have molds of my face that just literally are just.
Oh, okay.
That I wear. You can't even tell sometimes that I can literally pull my face off and put another one on. So it's a
trippy. That's
total
rad.
G.I. Joe Zartan thing I do.
That's right.
So I was like, it'd be cool to wear a patch eye. I saw Bowie do it. That looks like a Snake Plissken kind of thing. Let's try it. But man, I remember I wore it for 3 songs, and then I went off the side to do a quick change, and I got that fucker off, and I think I threw it. I don't have it anymore. I was like,
right. You're like, fuck this thing.
Standing on that thing going, I'm going to die at Ozfest. Very stupid patch eye. So yeah, like all of my stuff I do on stage, I practice it kind of here in my room. I have like mirrors here that I'll try it on. I'll move around and go, that probably won't come undone. But I practice everything on stage, like everything.
That's awesome.
Live.
I mean, that's, like people don't understand that like there is like a dedication to the craft, like you've got to like, I mean, even like, we wear stage clothes as well. And it's like, you got to fuck with it a bunch of times. It's like, oh, I'm going to be wearing this for, I play 3-hour shows. So like fucking 3 hours, it's a long fucking time. It's like, you gotta know what you're doing. Cause you are there to entertain people. You're not just going up to like noodle around and fucking make it up as you go. It's like, there's a show. You're putting on a show. People are paying money to be entertained.
It's commercial breaks. It's like when the commercial break goes off, that person comes out, powders up your nose. It's just, it's a lot of work, so, but yeah, man, it's, I'm having a blast. This quarantine didn't get me down. I actually had the time to start a fan club. It's doing killer. I have
killer.
I have an exercise tier that I train with. I call it Necro Trainers. And I have like 50 kids on there that get up every day, and I do motivational posts. I post pictures of me running up the rocky steps I did.
Wow, dude, that's awesome.
I've got people writing me going, I lost a pant size. I could do this now. I could do 100 push-ups. I couldn't do 2 months ago. So
that's fucking awesome.
Killer. So I've made my fan club work into my schedule where it's like, I'm going to exercise every day. If I could pass this on to help 4 or 5 people, and I also have with all the stuff I was talking to, which kind of got conspiracy-ish, which, like I said, I call it second opinion. I started a part on my fan site called Into the Forbidden Zone, and I talk about all this ancient history of where like symbols started from, where our religion started from, where it went wrong. And I started that a week ago, and now I have shitload of people watching this, so I got my own like ancient alien show now on my fan club.
Killer.
So
that's badass.
And I'm doing a TV show off my fan club called Wednesday's World, which is literally the most fucked up, bizarre Pee-wee's Playhouse meets Land of the Lost, Great Space Coaster. It's my world, and I dress in costumes. There's PSAs. I interviewed the Tiger King on the first episode.
No shit, huh?
No, I don't.
You were playing the Tiger King.
I played the Tiger King's voice, but I interviewed him. The new episode I just filmed, Tiger King's back. He's fighting with Carol Baskins on the show. It's a fight to the finish. I've got a referee costume and a whistle. It's literally, it's just madness. It's inspired a lot by a lot of the Adult Swim shows like Eric Andre and Tim and Eric. There's a show called Wonder Shows, and it came out like 15 years ago. It's like a really fucked up.
So you're staying creative, man. That's awesome. You're staying creative.
But it's natural for me, and it's fun. I do it all here in my bedroom, and it keeps me busy all day, and it's fun. So I've basically, through the quarantine, not being able to tour, I've connected with a lot of my super close fans. I just put an action figure out. I'm on my 5th action figure now.
Nice.
Dude, I'm doing everything I wanted to do. It's cool. Like I have toys. I have action figures of me now.
That's killer. It's funny, like how in some ways, quarantine has been one of the coolest things ever.
Quarantine brought Wednesday 13 slime.
Yeah, right. Like there never would have been that
with worms.
Nice,
dude. I got it hooked up. The quarantine did nothing but make me go like inventor crazy, merchandise crazy,
right?
Writing songs crazy. I'm working on a movie right now. I got my little TV show I do monthly, so it's just this has been a good reset button for me. And knowing that we're not going to have shows, at least for us, until March or April next year, it's going to make the fans go crazy. It's going to make us go crazy. Can you imagine being in front of your audience, hitting that first fucking chord and hearing that crowd? Can you imagine that? That is something that,
oh yeah,
dude, I can't wait for that, man. And even though it sucks, you don't get to play that absence of time is going to make, I think it's going to make a movement. It's going to make people care about music. It's going to make people get off their fucking telephones at shows. I hope.
Yeah.
It's going to make people want to be there, because we kind of took it for granted. Even us, we're used to having crowds. We're used to being on tour. Now we're doing podcasts and talking to each other. You know what I mean? So it's even though, like I said, through the darkness, there's a light through all this, and I see it, and I try to be positive about it, and so we'll see what happens in the world. I just think people need to, again, just pay attention to everything and not one thing, because if one thing's going on, you can assure somebody's doing something over here. You know what I mean? They're planning stuff. We plan our years out a year and ahead. We know what we're doing usually next year. You getting festivals lined up. The government, they got that figured out too. So we gotta get rid of the emperor.
Thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me. A lot of fun talking.
Really appreciate you coming on here. As someone who's been following your career for almost 2 decades now, it's really cool to see you still killing it and doing fucking great, and
you, man.
So many amazing stories, and congratulations on all your creativity through all this, man.
Thank you, and same to you, man. You fucking have you've survived the game. We are survivors. We've adapted to. We went from the Roadrunner family to, you know what I mean?
I know, right?
It's crazy. We somehow went to a high school together in a weird way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's cool to see us surviving when we could name 100 bands that didn't,
Right.
So, and it's because we're creative, and we keep in touch with our fans, like what we're doing and talking to people. And that's maybe why a lot of bands they didn't communicate. And that's what it takes, I think.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Wednesday 13. Frankenstein, Drag Queens, Murderdolls, Wednesday 13.
No fucking regrets!
With Robb Flynn.